Got a chip on his shoulder. Oh no.
A chip on my shoulder.
You got a chip on your shoulder.
You've got a chip shoulder.
You know, I'm thinking about doing another channel, but I don't know.
What about
comic books?
Do you read a lot of comic books?
I have a lot of comic books. I would read them, do like a read-along channel.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Does it cost you anything to make it?
No, but why split the audience?
Fair.
Put on your thinking caps. I gotta think about, you know, like what is morning sky. We'll talk about it afterward. Let's get this shit going, huh?
It's for people.
What's that?
Let's get it going.
Let's get it going. It's the Ethical Underground. Ethical Underground. All right, it's Chip and Sky. Chip and Sky in the house. It's for people like you. Ah! Chip and Sky in the house. Chipski. It's a Chipski. Yes. Here we go. What? Is that the rain?
I love it.
What? All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Sky Jack Morgan. This is that Chip guy up in the house. That's Chip. I'm Sky. Welcome to the Ethical Underground, where we talk about the ethics of underground. No, we talk about ethics of mass transportation. No, we talk about the ethics. We just talk about ethical shit about ethics and stuff. Look, my shirt came undone, Chip. No, it was that kind of show. I was dancing a little too much. I should wear this. Look, I'm wearing my Southwestern shirt. What do you think?
Love it.
I'm moving to Albuquerque. Chip.
So you're getting ready. You're already an Albuquerquean.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this shirt for a long time. It's got a pocket for a beer, so you can hide a beer.
Okay.
It's literally a beer hiding pocket. It's just got one right here for your beer.
Is that a thing that people do? They hide beers in pockets?
Yeah, sure. You gotta hide sometimes you gotta hide a beer, Chip.
From the police or what?
Yeah. Yeah, from police, your mom, whoever's looking. Sometimes you gotta hide a beer.
I spoke to an American girl today, to an American woman, actually, not girl.
Yes.
And she was telling me just how many that almost every American woman goes to at least one act of sexual harassment, even as a child.
Sexual harassment. I mean, I've gone through sexual harassment. What do you mean? Like, don't we all go through sexual harassment? You've never had an unwanted.
What is sexual?
Okay. What is sexual harassment? I've had a boss want to fuck me that I didn't want to do. I've had customers.
If they want to fuck you, it's not harass. They have to harass you about that.
Like they would tell other people. That's harassment.
That they want to fuck you. Is that harassment?
Yeah. I think so. If a boss is going around,
the stories that she was telling me, were insane. And then I heard some stories from Dutch girls. It's insane. It's just all bad. Like I didn't know that women have it this bad, man. And I'm like,
women got it bad. Yeah, think what it's like in Europe,
disappointing.
Man. Think what it's like in Italy, where they, yeah,
Italy is even worse, I think, huh?
Yeah, whiskey bottle pocket right here. It's also I could itch my belly button right here too. I can't get low enough to do any funny business, but I can itch my belly button with this pocket. I walk to the bar with a beer too. Swaggy McNolegs knows what it's up. Yep, that's how you do. Sometimes you got to walk into the bar with a beer in your pocket. Pre-game,
Aren't you
baby.
going to a bar to get a beer?
No, you're going to a bar to hang out with your friends. Beer. If you could sneak a beer into the bar, you're in the bar for free. You're not paying. It's like sneaking in the back of a movie theater, my friend.
Mm.
It's also illegal. They've made it's totally illegal to bring up to bring an outside alcoholic beverage into a licensee's place of business is against the law. Boop. Anyway, thanks so much. You'd sub to that. What? My reading comics. I'm thinking I'm just gonna do it like on this channel, and if it takes off, I'll split it off because I think the morning sky is turning into like the morning news reaction and then hangout anyway. So I could do the news reaction and then be like, all right, we're gonna read some comics. Okay, we're doing the news reaction. Okay, we're gonna play a game. Okay, we're doing the news reaction. Okay, we're gonna do whatever. You know what I mean? Like when it transfers to the hangout session. I don't know, or I could split it up. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Anyway, that chip guy. What are we talking about today? We're talking about the ethics of technology and how fast is the enemy. And I think about this a lot because of the dromosphere, Virilio, a world order structured by velocity, where speed replaces reflection as the operative logic of a system.
Yeah. It's I've seen that a lot in wherever I worked, speed being an important factor.
Yes, the deciding factor.
For example, I worked in a Dutch company that was doing advertising agency, and they took a project which they said they can finish in 5 days or something, and this project that would take a month. And they said, well, I was a lead engineer, so I said, there's no way we can finish in time. And the person said, well, don't worry, we'll hire more people if needed. We'll hire like contractors. And they hired like 10 contractors, Kai. And it was so fucked up because they didn't know, like, they didn't follow our coding standards and everything.
Yeah.
And it just ended up such a big mess. And after 5 days, the project was nearly done, but it was so shit that we had to spend another 3 days to remake kind of what a lot of the people did. And afterwards, obviously we were delayed, but apparently that was an issue because they already got the contract.
Yeah.
Then we just ended up working up until like 12 a.m. every day. And at some point I was like, fuck this, I can't stay up until 12 a.m. anymore. And I still remember that the person told me, you're not a team player.
You're not a team player. Well, I guess the problem with that would be like they never asked like, should we do this? It was like, oh, we're already doing this. That's the problem. Like the whole should we do this never gets asked because you're going so quickly. Oh, we've already hired 10 of these assholes. We're doing it. Like this is already happening. And so you're never able to like catch up. And the axiom here is to invent the train is to invent the derailment, right? Once you invent something, you have to know that every technology arrives with its catastrophe already baked in. Every time it's already coded in there. It's not like a bug to patch later. It's just the shadow of the invention itself. Every invention, every new thing comes with a calamity, and you need to find out what those are going to be. So the one I talk about the most right now, I used to talk about lead, but I think the new lead is microplastics. Chip, do you have microplastics in your testicles, Chip? Have you noticed?
But as far as I know, the microplastics don't pose a significant threat to your health, or there's no significant enough data that would expose that there is such a thing.
So there's a couple things here when you say something like, well, you know, the data doesn't show. But the problem with that is, Chip, that's exactly what they said about lead. And that's exactly what they said about asbestos. Oh, the data doesn't show.
The data was different.
Only much later. For years, they were like, oh, no, the data says it's fine. Minimal.
No, lead and asbestos we knew.
Wasn't a little lead in the atmosphere never hurt nobody.
No, come on. Wasn't Marie Curie who died of
X-ray
also
poisoning?
X-ray poisoning. So we know that materials that decay can impact your health.
We did not know. Sorry, but plastics, dude. For plastics, for years, people thought of them as impermeable. That they did not break down into microplastics. Plastics were put into the atmosphere, put into the oceans. They thought of them as forever things. They thought about them as all sorts of dangerous, but no one ever considered microplastics until very recently. It took us forever to figure it out, and now they're like, oh, but actually, it's okay though. Actually, it's okay.
Well, no, it's not that it's okay. Obviously, we already have studies showing that we have microplastics in us already.
Yep. In my eyeballs, in my balls, in my everything that's spherical, apparently.
Yeah, I
My
guess
balls,
it's
my
not.
eyeball, my testicles, my eyeballs, my brain, anything that's roughly spherical in shape is filled with microplastics, apparently.
But I don't subscribe to this idea that cigarettes is fine as well, or how you said lead was fine. I don't think it's the same thing. Let's not put them all under
You
the
don't think
same
it's the same thing because it's new, because you're a victim of the dromosphere, and I'm going to spend the next
Not at
hour
all. Not because
I'm
it's
going to
new.
spend a hour proving that Chip is a
But it's
victim
not
of
because
this.
it's new. Not because it's new, but because
It's
they
because of the
behave
speed.
differently.
It's the speed at which it was presented to us. The same thing happens every time. Should we put lead everywhere, like in the gasoline and in the paint? Oh, we're already doing that. What?
Listen,
Should we?
I'll agree with you that
like we
I'll
know it's
agree
a
with you that corporations.
neurotoxin?
I'll agree with you that corporations do a lot of shitty things, and they a lot of the times disregard the studies and the evidence, but
Yes, but
just so that they can
speed
make
is
more money,
power.
or
Speed is
for speed
power.
or whatever.
Yes.
But I don't think that we can classify everything. Like I could say, well, no, we cannot, because I can tell you also about what plant-based meats.
Yeah.
They're bad for you. How do we know that? What, lead was also bad for you, right?
Hold
Quinoa.
on a second.
Hold on a second. People just started eating quinoa in the last 10 years. They're bad for you.
First of all,
we cannot make these claims like that, right? We can make like,
yes, we can. We can, because it's not just they're bad for you. It's that there's plant-based meats is not some new invention. It's a patch for the already invented thing that is the animal injustice, the animal industries, right? So they invented plant-based meat in order to fix the ecological disaster of
but that doesn't matter whether it's good or bad for you. I just disagree with this narrative that because it's new, it potentially is bad.
It's not that because it's new that it's bad. It's because it's fast. We don't ever get to ask, should we? We only ask, oh, it's already happening. So, like in the case of microplastics, what the point of I'm trying to make is, when you invent something, you are going to invent some new calamity that's already baked in. That could be a big one or a small one. With microplastics, we just didn't invent this sterile, convenient miracle material that they were saying plastic was. We simultaneously invented a cellular infiltration of our entire biosphere. It's in our cells. That's something that we've done. Now you could be, you can waffle all we want about how bad that is, but when it's in your cells, it's everywhere. We did that. It wasn't just an oversight that was like bolted onto a clean energy or something. It was a built-in feature because it was rapid, unchecked, and it was just deployed on us immediately. And the speed to market had no mechanism of reflection or containment, because we needed
AI.
Kind of like AI. I want to get to AI. Absolutely. But I want to get on the same page with the microplastic thing and why I'm talking about it, right? Because the speed to market is what caused us to have microplastics in my testicles. Okay?
I mean, I'm not sure if that's what caused. I mean, maybe you could say speed, but also there's a lot of negligence there, because
the negligence
we've been doing plastic for 50 years. So, we were only recently learned. We didn't overly recently learn. We knew that for a while.
We learned about microplastics recently. Like, we thought that it would, like, plastics just lasted forever in the ocean. Really? And we weren't looking at like how it was breaking down over time and entering our entire biosphere. Like, that was something that was unforeseen, because instead of taking 50 years and bringing it out slowly, we were like, nope, plastics in everything. Everything's got to have plastic. Like, you touch plastic all day long. I'm touching plastic right now. My shirts probably has plastic in it.
But not all plastics are equal. There's certain plastics. There's certain polyurethanes that are in a certain way, right? Like, it's not all plastics are the same. Not all plastics create microplastics.
Not all dogs bite, but like, that's not really the point. That some plastics might be safe. Okay, the point is the speed at which we entered this is why we're in the situation. that our speed
To
to
some
market
extent.
with no mechanism of reflection or containment is why we haven't. When you do something quickly, we can't consent to it. I did not consent to having testicles filled with fucking microplastic. I couldn't consent to that because you were going so quickly. We had no idea that I was going to have, or my blood-brain barrier having microplastics in it.
I don't know if I'd blame. So I blame speed for a lot of things. I don't know if microplastics is the speed one. That's my only concern.
100% it is. That's like the best example, because it wasn't like plastic came out and we figured it out over time. No, plastic came out and it was in every hospital, every tube, every needle, every food. We used it to preserve every food. Every time you killed a turkey, the turkey went into a cryo-sealed plastic container. Everything was plastic. Like,
the thing about it is, though, like when it comes to medicine, it needs to be in plastic. That's a different thing, right? So that's and not
so
again, we cannot put all plastics in the same
like
thing.
a lot of things. It started with medical and military.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, microplastics come from like the not the reusable one, but the single-use plastics.
Single use is just the biggest culprit. They all turn into microplastics because we didn't understand how it broke down over time in places like the ocean. If you took you could take you could say that some harder plastics degrade far more slowly than a single use like shopping bag or something. But the single use shopping bags, it's so much, like or like the water bottles, stuff like that. There's just so much of it. That's where you get like the mountains of plastic.
There's obviously the mechanical abrasion. I believe that that obviously can create microplastics for the sheer fact that there's abrasion, right? I'll give you that.
Why are you defending plastics right now?
I'm not. I'm not defending. I just don't believe that. Jesus fucking Christ! Can't we have nuance?
I want to know. Yeah, sure. Nuance. Let's have nuance. Yeah, let's get in there.
And I also don't believe that all plastics are equally bad. Like, obviously throwing plastics.
No one's saying they're equally bad. I never made that claim. You're defending a claim.
No. But Sky, I'm not saying that you are. But just to be clear, right? Like, I hope you understand that what you're doing, right? Like, a lot of the times when I push back on these things, I push back because there's stupid people in the chat.
It's
right.
Fine,
there's people who don't understand nuance. There's people who don't understand this idea that maybe it's not all bad. Ditch all plastic. No, we cannot ditch all plastic. We depend on plastic for a lot of things.
A lot of plastic. It's the mass adoption at scale at a tremendous speed that got us into the situation. Not the fact that they introduced a little bit of plastic into military and medical application. Like, I mean, in medical application, we also don't need it. It was just easier and cheaper than glass. It was easier and cheaper than rubber. It was easier and cheaper. That's why we did it. And it was like overall, it was a co-product of the oil industry, right? It's a petropolychemical, right? Right. Plastic comes out of the oil refinery the same way gasoline does.
Okay. Yeah, you were right, by the way. Almost all plastics shed microplastics. Almost all, not all, but almost all. Yes. And it's, as I said, mechanical abrasion, heat, oxidation, and UV exposure. But not all break down because of the same reason, right? Like, for example, UV exposure is not for all plastics, and heat is obviously for most, depending on the plastic. Oxidation
sloshing around in the ocean.
Mechanical abrasion is obviously for all, right? Like,
right, and that's where the ocean comes in, right? That's mechanical abrasion. It's sloshing around with salt and
but the plastic in the ocean, 80% of the plastic in the ocean is from the fishing industry. So
yes, well, there's another industry that took it because it was fast, easy. It was durable, it was fast, it was easy, and what harm could it cause, right? But because they did it so quickly, it caused a hell of a lot of harm, and it's really fucking bad. It's not just microplastics.
Do you think this is a product of speed? Because I do. That's my problem. I don't. That's another one that I don't think necessarily it's a problem. It's a product of speed. Because plastic adoption wasn't that fast everywhere, was it?
Fucking lightning fast.
In US maybe, but not everywhere in the world.
the largest consumers were doing it. If you say the U.S. and USSR or the U.S., Russia, and China, you've basically got, or India, you've got plastic everywhere. I mean, I don't know what
Well,
you mean.
nowadays, yes. But nowadays, yes. But I mean, the plastic started in the 50s, right? Like, I'm just like, we had 50 years. I understand that maybe we didn't detect microplastics, but I'm just wondering, like, if we started in the 50s and the big adoption started in the 60s, then it's not a matter of speed. It's 10 years.
That's incredibly fast. Like, holy shit.
Is it?
Like, to be ubiquitous? Yes. Out to be a global thing? Absolutely. If you think about, like, when I was a kid, peanut butter jars were glass. And now
they still are here. I don't know.
You've got nothing in glass at the supermarket here. Almost nothing. There's almost nothing. Maybe like some artisanal jellies.
US is on. I mean, I'll tell you, man. When you go to US, it's insane how much plastic is used in the US.
Yeah, the paralleler says Sky's point is that we should have researched plastic more back in the 70s. Absolutely, we should have researched it, understood what the calamity was.
I'm just wondering,
because the axiom is with every new invention comes the catastrophe. It is in the cake. It's coded as part of it. So we need to prepare for that.
Sure. Let's move on.
We need to know what that catastrophe is. Okay. So anyway, so back to the original. So it wasn't because it was oversight bolted on. It was that it was the feature. It's a feature of rapid. It's not that it happened because it was the speed. The speed actually makes it so that you can never ask, should we be doing this? Should we be putting everything in plastic? Because we're already doing it. We never got to ask that. The derailment. So with every time you invent a train, when you invent the train, you invent the derailment, right? The derailment wasn't that it was invented alongside of it. The infiltration was invented alongside plastic, right? When they invented plastic, it invented the infiltration. Okay. So the problem here is because of that speed, you have intergenerational injustice, right? Because the obligation for plastic, and this is something they knew, it did not expire when that generation who put it in our mouths dies. It's not just one lifetime or a fiscal quarter, although the whole reason that they're putting plastic into everything is in order to fulfill some kind of fiscal quarter, like stockholders, they want their money. They're doing it so quickly, but we are not going to ever get rid of plastics now. It's with us forever. It'll never be gone. It's in our cells. And so the question there, I asked you from Rawls' veil of ignorance, right? The Rawls' veil of ignorance. If you didn't know, we ask all the time, if you didn't know before you were born, if you were going to be a cow, chicken, pig, a fly, a rat, or a boy, how would you organize the world? How would you organize it to be just? Well, could you say the same thing as a generation? If you didn't know which generation you'd be born into, would you approve the deployment terms of plastic or any of the deployment that we're doing today? The shit that AI, for example.
Are you asking, like, if you could choose the generation that you're in, would you still
cannot choose?
You cannot choose. Okay. What's the question
you're
again?
Behind the veil of ignorance, okay?
Yeah.
And you don't know what generation you're going to be in.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know.
I see what you mean. Like a veil of ignorance of the generation that you'd be born in.
Yeah, of time, right? So like a temporal.
I'd still rather live in a time where there's plastics. Yeah.
What's that?
I'd still rather live in a world where there's plastics. Yes.
Okay, so would you? That's not the question. Would you agree to the terms at which we deploy new technology?
Because depends on the technology. Depends on the technology, but I do agree that all
technologies are presented at the same speed. You don't get to choose. We present all technologies at a rapid, as fucking quick as possible because we're trying to please stockholders, shareholders every quarter. So we don't have this well, it depends on which fucking, give me a fucking break. I'm asking you a very simple hypothetical. It's an ancient hypothetical, the Rawlsian veil of ignorance. If you can't see what generation you're going to be in, it could be 10 generations ago or 10 generations from now, would you think, fuck plastics? Would you agree to deploying AI at the speed at which we're deploying it?
No, not AI, no.
Why?
Because it's clearly not dangerous for society.
Not just dangerous, but who's going to have to pay for it? We're not going to have to pay for what's happening with AI. You and I, we'll have fun with AI. You and I might fuck AI sex bots for all we know. Like we are going to have we're going to get all the good shit from AI.
I mean,
but the next generation,
my job because of AI. Is that a good thing?
Well, maybe you'll get better jobs because of AI. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's happening so fast that we'll all, just die.
I think we'll all suffer from the impact that AI has. I mean,
but it doesn't stop with our generation. Our generation gets to decide. Our current generation gets to decide how fast we make AI, and we're not looking at the
it's going to be worse for the new generations.
That's my point.
Way worse for the new generations, yeah.
Which is why I'm saying we need to slow the fuck down. Like we need to slow technology. We can't.
But capitalism is never about slow, is it? It's not technology. It's capitalism.
It's not just capitalism. It's tyranny. That the speed is the power by which tyranny. It's the ocean in which tyranny swims.
Because the way I see it, because I was thinking about this, if AI wasn't made during capitalism, obviously it wouldn't be where it is now. Like it wouldn't go so fast towards what like Claude Fable 5 is. But it, once you get to ChatGPT 3.5, I think it would slowly progress, which would be perfect because we would understand the impacts on society. We could understand a lot more. We could make it we could make regulations around it. There would be a lot of good things to it.
Well, without capitalism, so what's the point?
But still, capitalism is the issue.
Capitalism is one of the reasons why we move at the speed we do, sure. But capitalism is tyranny. Capitalism is hierarchy. Capitalism is so many things. But without capitalism, let me ask you, why is new technology invented under the umbrella of capitalism? What's the purpose of technology in capitalism?
To get ahead of the next company. To make more money.
Right, to make more money. Now, under any other form of economic systems, what would be the purpose of technology? Because before capitalism, they still invented shit.
Yeah, to improve life.
To improve life. That's right. So exactly right. So if we had all of
pure curiosity,
making work easier, like they still invented things like. Are you touching your mic? You're making me crazy.
Stop touching it.
How's that feel?
I love it.
Damn it. Stop touching your mic. All right. Let's be professional, Chip. All right. So dude, like if one of the things that Kropotkin and a lot of anarchist philosophers talk about when we talk about technology is that instead of working so fucking hard and only using technology, it's usually technology is used to make money and not alleviate the stress of the worker or anything like that. So workers have to toil and toil and toil because a worker's cheaper than a piece of technology. But if people all got together and built technology for the purpose of improving life, technology would look vastly different than what it looks like today. And we would also think about the downstream consequences.
Yeah.
And we would also look at the downstream consequences of that. So like if we were going to be like, hey, let's make some paint, we need to make it fast so we can paint all these houses. And someone's like, hold on, lead's, I've heard it's a neurotoxin. Maybe we shouldn't put lead in the paint. Now, instead of going, fuck you, we need to make money. Instead, it's like, oh yeah, we shouldn't put lead in the paint because it's going to kill all our kids. It's going to make them have dementia and stuff. Right. So like technology just takes on a whole different kind of costume, I guess.
I think technology is just like a victim of capitalism. It's just technology is just because it's also such a broad word, right? Because you could think like a bow and an arrow is technology if you're very primitive.
Totally. And
I guess we mean the technology now. When we say technology, we do mean all the inventions that were made for the purpose of profit and getting ahead. So, because it was for profit and getting ahead, they never actually got to look at it. But it's like the speed of capitalism rather than technology, isn't it?
Well, the speed of capital is something that we've talked about before on like our border. When we talk about borders, like the speed of capital is unfettered, and the reason why is because it's the tool of despots to keep us under power, under their power. Like capitalism is just a system of tyranny, so the people who inherit wealth inherit power stay in power, and we get screwed. It's an age-old tension. But anyway, the point of the dromosphere thing is that there's no clean exit. Like, that's a myth. We always say things like there's going to be a clean exit. We're going to be able to somehow clean this up. The next generation will be able to do it, right? And if you did have the Rawlsian, like, let me ask the chat, if you were behind the veil of ignorance and you don't get to choose what generation you're born in, would you think it was just to introduce all of these new technologies as quickly as we're doing it? I mean, shit, even the telephone, which was ostensibly invented as a kind of curiosity, as like a toy almost, was adopted quickly by the military and industrialists to exert pretty extreme tyranny.
It's also very difficult to say because a lot of these technologies did lead to medical breakthroughs also, which have helped a lot of people. So, right, if I say no internet, it could be kind of messed up because the internet did help. But it helped a lot of people in the world. It helped communicate. It united a lot of people. It also nowadays kind of fucking everyone up. But
look at the internet's a great example too. Is that the internet was kind of sorted out by mostly socialists trying to work together in the medical fields, right? And then the military got involved, and then it started being used by civilians, and then it was pretty fun for a while, and then it became this clusterfuck capitalist shit fest that we have today. You know, where your eyeballs are the product, and it's like that's how we ended up here. But if we, without having it pushed on us as quickly as it was, we might have found things like, why are our kids shooting each other more? Or why are our kids, like, all the things that we're blaming on social media now, it's like trying to pin the tail on a donkey or something with blindfolds, right? They're like trying to find the smoking gun. It's social media. You always hear that all the time. Like, why aren't kids reading? Social media. Why aren't kids dancing? Social media. Why aren't kids dating? Social media. All these things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like TikTok, the style, I don't think I wouldn't call that technology. I would call that brain rot.
Yeah, well, brain rot is a product of technology, though, wouldn't you say?
No, yeah, it is. It's just, why would anyone who doesn't have an incentive for profit make a device which incredibly easy makes your attention fucked by simply moving on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, without like essentially just triggering your reward system every single time? Like, it doesn't feel right, like the way TikTok is or YouTube.
Which is why we shouldn't have put it in all the kids' cereal. You know what I mean? Maybe we shouldn't have painted our houses with it. Maybe we shouldn't have made all our diapers out of it. It's always that, man. It's like we wrapped our children in social media. And now here we go. Once again, we're doing it again. It's the same as the lead, same as the plastic, same as everything. We push it out too quickly, and then we wrap our children in it, and we're surprised by the results every time. I can't believe this is happening. Swaggy McNoleg says that hypothetical is the same as aliens showing you have a strong opinion. No, it is not. The Rawlsian hypothetical is a classic example of just how you would see what justice is. If you had to think about justice, how would you do it? And you would do it behind a veil of ignorance. That's where you would kind of approach what justice is, because you don't know how it's going to affect you. Classically, if you had to decide how blacks and whites are treated by the government, and you didn't know if you were going to be born black or white, how should we treat blacks and whites? Should we treat them equally? Of course, everyone would say yes, because you don't know if you're going to be born black or white. See, it's pretty simple. It's not some crazy hypothetical. Everyone knows I'm kind of allergic to those. Chip always gets mad at me about not wanting to have crazy hypotheticals. They're fun, though. I think the Rawlsy one's pretty pedestrian, to be honest with you.
It's difficult calling something technology. That's my only thing, right? Like, as I said, bow and an arrow can be fire is technology.
Well, a bow and arrow is a great example too. I mean, fire is a technology too. But fire, for example, those are great examples, Chip. A fire was technology, right? Maybe the earliest tech, maybe the fire, the wheel, I don't know, sharp objects or something. They were adopted, though, very, very slowly, right? Fire took generations for people to teach each other how to make it, how to use it, how to maintain it, how to, that we all had to, human beings had to learn that it hurts to get near it. All these things took time. So imagine fire coming out today, and in a year everyone has it. That's where we're at now. Like,
because it just spreads faster, but
yes, it spreads faster
I think
intentionally.
it spreads faster because of the rate information spreads nowadays because of the internet, but it would have spread just as fast if they had the internet then.
Even things that don't rely on the internet, that's just information, right? Even if you don't have the internet, there's lots of technologies that are going so quickly that do not require that. Like the speed of AI being foisted on all of us, you could say it's because the internet and all of us being able to access it, but it's also because they have the capital to push it. They have the capital to put these data centers in, all these big hardware issues too. It's not just that because we can get to it, they're also warp speeding the ability to build these giant hardware centers as well. It's not just the speed of information.
Well, I think AI is a very good example for all of this because I don't know if you remember, but when ChatGPT 4 came out, there's a Chinese company who came up with the other model. What's it called?
DeepSeek.
And DeepSeek was doing the same thing, but using like a tenth of the resources or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to me because this is kind of what I see more and more these days, which I really don't like. I'm all for, I think AI is a great technology and we obviously need to test the impact it has on society, and that's one thing. But there's also the problem with that. The next thing is the problem that instead of developing the technology to make it scalable for everyone on the world, we, as you said, we create data centers, we pump in huge amounts of resources. We don't actually scale it up. We just amplify it. Yes. And that's not, I don't even know if, I wouldn't call that technology, if you ask me. I would just call that stupidity.
Don't get stuck on it is stupidity, but it's also baked into the cake. You have to go fast or else we'll get wise. Most people still call them data centers, but they aren't, right? They're surveillance centers. They're ways to crunch our data, sure, but they're calling them something like data centers, and people think that it's me using the Google chatbot to search for comic book prices or something. That's not what they're building, man. But I guess, like, forget about when something like this comes out. 100% of the economic utility will be kept in this generation. 100% of the cleanup, 100% of all of the horror show will be the next generation and subsequent generations. Same thing with the plastics or the lead or all these other things. They got 100% of the economic utility. If I'm trying to place this in the utilitarian framework philosophically. They get all of the utility and you get all of the suffering.
Well, it's true. It's not just, by the way, data centers are not to keep data. I just want to correct it now because data centers
to crunch data.
Well, they're because they need to run the algorithm of AI so that it runs as fast as it possibly can, and for as many people as they use it. In reality, even after we created the model of AI, we should have worked on it using less and less resources, and people should have adopted it when they could have used their own computer, not put millions of data centers in there to, we don't really have the computational power to scale it up, but you know what we'll do? We'll just dump a fuck ton of money, ruin the power grid, because we can barely make it if we do all that stuff.
But the thing about that, the people who are involved today will get the money from that, all of the utility, and the people downstream are the ones that are going to get fucked. And I think this is something that's really important. I see people mentioning Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is one of those people that are, and he's not the only one, but politicians do this. They utilize the dromosphere in a way that they can push information and full of shit so that you don't even know which way's up. They're cramming it down your throat.
Donald Trump knows he's going to die. He doesn't care about anybody.
He doesn't care. So he gets 100% of the utility, and the next generation gets all of this cleanup, all of the shit.
Not even the next generation, Sky, the next president.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's more quick but no, but it's not just going to be, this country's never going to be the same after him. It'll never be the same.
No, because it's just going to be fucked, because Donald Trump has fucked almost every system that it possibly could have.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's eroded all of our institutions and any kind of guardrails on capitalism, so it's kind of a problem. Anyway, it's an asymmetrical relationship, and when you look at who actually captures the upside of a rushed rollout versus who inherits the liability, that's not a design flaw, it's the design. And that's what I'm going at. When you say, well, it's not, that might not be a technology, it's part of the design when you roll out something quickly that someone else is going to have to fucking pay for it. Someone else is going to have to suffer.
Yeah. It's the whole pension thing, isn't it? Pension is, we'll always have somebody working. We'll just take money now and pay to them so that the next generation will be working and will pay. Like, yeah, it's not things being thought through. It's just people saying our generation will be fine and we'll deal with it when we reach that problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wildly enough, social media has allowed the sharing of any idea and teaching. Not really. It kind of hasn't. It's allowed it, but it funnels you into different algorithms intentionally so that you don't.
It did create some, but I think it did way more worse. I think social media
didn't democratize. Man, I remember the early days of internet. It was going to democratize exactly what Mikhail Gorbachev is talking about, the idea that we can all access whatever information we want and we can all be scholars. We can access anything. Only if you know what you're fucking looking for. Like, I might know who Paul Virilio is so that I can have a conversation with you about the dromosphere and shit. But unless you know what you're looking for, you're never fucking getting to that. You know what I mean? I still had to go to college and get all that shit. You know, like, I don't think the internet helped. I guess it helps me do what I'm doing now. Trump won 2020.
Yeah, don't worry. Boiling Frog is a misogynist.
It's so funny. Trump won 2020 is one of my favorite dumb shit. Like, you can automatically know when someone is a fucking cultist. You know, it's like flat earthers and
he's a misogynist guy. He uses words that he doesn't know the meaning of. So don't be too scared. Like he dropped into my comment section and he uses words like a feminist, and he thinks feminism means men not having rights.
Really?
He's not very smart.
I always imagine someone like that is like, when they stumble onto my channel, they're like, but whatever, man. It's fine. You're welcome. You're welcome to be here. Stay around. Maybe you'll get something through osmosis. You never know. All right. So, but here's where I wanted to push you, Chip. This is why I want to really just push you personally, Chip. Just you, not the audience. Because the failure is baked into the cake and every calamity is part of technology. When you invent the train, you invent the derailment. And if you know that the derailment is going to be catastrophic versus any other kind of decentralized situation, right? If you could decentralize it instead of centralizing it so you can mitigate the calamity. I would say that your position on nuclear is 100% unethical.
Oh, no, not at all. No.
Because you, just like the microplastics people, want to push nuclear. Oh, it's new nuclear. It's so safe, everybody. It's
the safest form of energy.
Why would we go? It's you say that because
per kilowatt hour, it's the safest.
I know we've already gone through it. That's not the argument, man. That doesn't matter at all, because when it breaks down, we have catastrophes. When
not at all. There's several times when
solar
it broke
breaks
down, we didn't have
one house loses electricity.
No. We had several times when nuclear just stopped successfully. That's called cherry picking. You only
when it stops,
you
didn't let me finish. When it stops, the whole neighborhood the whole city loses power.
Wait, you mean like because it generates so much energy?
No, because we've centralized and outsourced our power production.
No, first of all, it's not nuclear. It's not about centralization, FYI.
Of course it is.
Nuclear energy it's just another form of energy.
How do you decentralize? How do you decentralize nuclear power? How's that possible? Don't tell me it's not about centralization. It is 100%.
It's so first of all, energy, right, needs some form of centralization regardless, right? And we're not talking about why, because if one system fails, which it will. wherever any form of making energy can inherently fail,
Okay.
you get the backup to the other. And you can't have every single city, every single neighborhood have their own for generating form of energy and backup. Like, it just doesn't work.
Of course it does.
You do need. No, that would be a huge waste. That would be bad. That would be bad.
Not at all.
That would be extremely wasteful. Because
I'm letting you finish because you're making a lot of claims. But can I address one of your claims? Like, you're saying, like, that's
sure.
bad.
It's just wasteful.
Decentralized electricity. If my neighbor has a broken power, like their solar panel breaks, that neighbor loses energy. No problem, because all of us are pumping into the grid. They still have enough electricity.
Solar energy doesn't work without batteries.
And
so imagine everyone having batteries. Then you have a bigger problem. No, it doesn't, because you then you wouldn't have energy in the night at all, which is when you need it to turn on the light and stuff, right?
Okay, well, there's lots of ways to do that, but okay, there's also hydro. You can do hydroelectric because you can pump.
So you see, so we need more, right? So we need multiple forms of energy. So if we need multiple forms of energy, imagine if every single person had their own hydroelectric thing, their own thing, and their own battery, their own, like, this whole system. And then we find out, like, as you said, with microplastics, right? We find out that one of the technologies is actually detrimental, and everyone has to change it. Everyone has to throw it away. It's just wasteful and not good enough. I don't think people should be making their own energy. I think energy should be centralized 100%.
We're not making energy. We're capturing it from the sun. If we have batteries and we're pumping into the same grid, there shouldn't be a problem. There's no.
But you pump it to the grid. The grid is centralization. The grid is
interconnectivity. No, because we're not all drawing. The grid isn't centralization. I'm not. I don't have a power plant anywhere. That's centralization. We're all centralization. No. We're huddled around the circle, and the it's all being generated, and we're all drawing from the same.
Okay. So centralization, to use just this idea that there's just one direction to it.
Centralization
for me. For me, centralization just means we're all connected and we can draw power from
no, not at all. Centralization means you make the power on your nuclear silo, whatever, and then 100 people draw from it. That's centralization.
Not necessarily. The way I see centralization,
that is what centralization is.
Sure, but like the way I see centralization, what I mean by it, right? That's just one form of centralization. But the way I see centralization is rather that the problem that we're trying to solve, the problem in this case being energy, right? Creating energy, generating energy, is not one that is decentralized, that everyone has to solve the problem, but rather we all together solve the problem. That's centralization. We all together solve this one problem. Right? It doesn't have to be necessarily one way. It can be in multiple ways, but together we solve the problem.
It's a high magnitude energy system that you've already admitted is bound to fail from time to time. And when it
like
fails,
all other forms of energy,
and when it, like all other forms of energy, except a failed solar installation is a local accident. A next generation reactor's integral accident carries liability across millennia.
No. So first of all, no, that's not true. Again, we're talking about 2 or 3 incidents that were really bad indeed, but there have been several times that nuclear energy has failed and there was no incident behind it.
But
right?
when it
like
does,
we have fail-safe mechanisms.
But we know we have fail-safe mechanisms. It's all going to be safe, just like the lead, just like the plastics. It's going to be fine.
Not like that. We have data behind that.
We don't have data behind it. We have data. We have data that. Hold on. We have data that they break down seldom, but when they do, it costs future generations.
No, they don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
It does.
They don't. Not when they do.
3 Mile Island didn't happen. You're going to tell me that Fukushima didn't happen.
You're picking 3 examples out of thousands of other situations when they didn't work anymore.
There are 3 examples that future generations will have to pay for. And it's not fair for us to get the utility that you're talking about and put that on other generations, because not only will they have to deal with nuclear waste, they'll have to deal with whatever accidents we have.
That's called, first of all, nuclear waste is nuclear fuel. Again, the new generation of nuclear power plants can reuse 95% of that nuclear fuel.
Okay.
So it's like it's we use it, and then 95% we put it back up, and then the 5% we store it because maybe in the next generation we can use another 80% of it. So it's like
I've heard of these.
keeping wood in your house.
None of this matters because I'm talking about philosophically why it's unethical. Not that you could tell me all day long that it's totally safe. It's totally safe. It's totally safe. It's totally safe.
It is.
It doesn't matter because even if there's a 1% chance that this is going to have a multi-generational disaster, which is highly likely, not 1%, because we are expanding it so quickly, this next gen nuclear reactors and stuff that we're building them
aren't you pro guns?
We're building them all over America. Appeal to hypocrisy? You're turning me on now. My nipples just got hard. Are you really going to use a logical fallacy on me?
No, because this isn't a logical fallacy. I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to understand your logic when saying that, because you have this. It's when I ask you this, it's not necessarily to appeal to hypocrisy, but it's rather to show that you have a blind spot. Because you see,
tell me my blind spot. I'll go with it. Sure.
Well, your blind spot is that you don't like nuclear energy and you constantly are against it. I'm not for or against nuclear energy. I just look at the data, and if the data says that it's the safest form of energy,
I look at the data as well. I looked at the data on microplastics, on plastics. I look at the data on all these things.
But the data on microplastics does not say that it can be detrimental yet. We don't have the data on that. I'll give you that it can potentially be, right? Especially DNA damage. But it doesn't necessarily.
We know that it's in our cells. We know that it's in the cells of plants. We know that it's everywhere.
But that doesn't inherently mean it's bad, Sky.
No, it just means that it's a mess that someone else is going to have to clean up, or if they ever get to it, if it's ever possible.
Maybe not.
Okay, Chip, it's extremely naive to think that a new technology like plastic has infiltrated our biosphere at every fucking stage. It's in the clouds, it's in the glaciers, and you're like, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not. You're just appealing to nature. You're saying it's not nature, so that
no, it's not. I'm not appealing to nature. I'm appealing to time and time again. It's the same as I've given you asbestos and lead, and every single time we do this,
not the same.
It is. Lead is in the glaciers. It's in the clouds. It's all over the fucking place now.
But
it's in every.
Lead is poisonous. Lead is poisonous because of the fucking radiation.
Lead is a neurotoxin, and it's in everything.
Yeah, but it's not. It's whatever, Sky.
It's a problem.
Listen, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with this because, again, I go by the data. It's simple. I go by the science of the data. A lot of people don't. Some people like it. Some people don't like it.
This isn't a science and data show.
Because this isn't even about my show. Yeah, but I draw ethics and logic and ethic conclusions based on the scientific data. I don't just form opinions and then draw ethical conclusions. Because if I form opinions
on your data, based on what you're saying, do you think? Hold on. How many next gen? Let me just ask really quickly. How many next gen nuclear power plants are slated to be built in the United States in the next 15 years?
I hope a lot.
Yeah, of course you do. So there are several. The U.S. has targeted aggressive deployment for next generation nuclear power over the next 15 years. The exact number of plants slated depends on final regulatory approval, but private developers have contracted at least 15 to 20 advanced commercial reactors. So do you think that that's a good? You said I guess your answer has already been said. I mean, do you think that we should? You think that's a good thing?
Way better than coal or any other form of energy. Yes.
Coal. Look out for coal. It's always coal with you.
Or natural gas.
Solar fucking power. We could invest in solar power that when one goes down, the Joneses lost power. I guess I'll have to loan them some energy from my battery instead of
it doesn't work.
There's been a meltdown and that will be affecting people for generations.
No, first of all, not all meltdowns end
I'm
up
not saying
in that
all
situation.
Meltdowns.
But that's what what do you mean you're not saying that? That's exactly what you're saying. You're saying, oh no, nuclear energy. If it melts down, we're all fucked. It's not true.
Let's take worst case scenario. Let's take worst case scenario. Let's take worst case scenario then, okay? Worst case scenario on a solar panel is that it lights a fire or electrocutes
why would we take a worst case scenario?
Because
if I take a worst case scenario on guns,
because if we're going to talk about ethics, we have to talk about worst case scenario. We have to.
Okay, so are you saying that
building 20 of them?
Okay, Sky, are you saying that then that means that guns are unethical because worst case scenario, everyone just shoots each other?
That's not the worst case scenario of guns, but whatever. Yes.
What do you mean that's not the worst case? If everyone has guns, everyone shoots each other.
Great point. Great point, Chip. I love that point. Guns aren't unethical. Technology is not unethical. You are not understanding the fucking point of this whole episode. The gun is not unethical. The nuclear power plant is not unethical. The speed at which we roll them out without doing our due process is unethical because generations to come will have to pay for it. In the case of guns, you're absolutely right. If you made a new gun, a fucking heat ray that vaporizes people, and you made it available to fucking everybody from the age of 10 and up, and everyone adopted them and they could 3D print them overnight and no one did any research about what was going to happen, yes, I'd say that's wholly unethical, 100%, Chip. But that's not how guns are. We highly regulate them. We intentionally slow you down. And even in states like New Mexico, there's a 7-day waiting period. I know that's not sufficient, but 7 days to slow your ass down so you don't fucking do something stupid.
I'm going to tell you what, Sky.
But you're not slowing. You want to go faster. You want to go faster.
So let me put it this way, Sky. Let's say we have a nuclear power plant that it affects 1 million people, right? Whether it melts down or not. I would say a power plant is still monumentally safer than 1 million people having guns.
That's not ethical. It's not ethical to say that if it kills 1 million people, I'm okay with it because it's still safer than coal.
I never said that's what makes it ethical. I'm just explaining to you that because we have to start on the premise that nuclear power is safe.
Yeah. Sky, how long does it take to get a power pack after a nuclear plant meltdown? How long does it take?
I don't know.
Generations, probably. I don't know. After a meltdown?
No, not at all. Not at all, no.
After a meltdown, that's a catastrophic event. Like, that's not just losing power.
It's like a bad event. No, I'm assuming it's a catastrophic event, but meltdown doesn't inherently mean that something will be damaged like it was during Chernobyl, for example. It doesn't inherently mean that...
A meltdown means...
No. A meltdown means that the core didn't achieve the nuclear reaction anymore, and then they have to throw in the... I think it's called the boron rods or something like that. I'm not a nuclear energy. That's why
neither am I. But a meltdown just means it gets so fucking hot it melts, and does what's called a China syndrome, and might actually melt as hot until it gets to the core, and then causes a volcano and shit. Like, there's all sorts of doomsday scenarios with a meltdown, but like, not to mention the fact that the nuclear power plants are always built on rivers, oceans, and streams, and heating up the water around them, killing all the fish. And here I thought Chimp cared about the fishy wishies, but no, we don't care about the fishy wishies. We don't care about
a lot of energy forms do that. Of course I care.
And
obviously
solar.
That's not the only. I'm sorry, but like that's a straw man because that's not the reason. That's not the reason why nuclear power is wrong, right?
You wanted logical fallacies. You bringing in guns. Aren't you for guns? I thought you cared about animals.
No, I'm just like, I try to understand the whole gun thing because I'm like, I try to understand how you formulate data because this is going nowhere. Obviously,
it's not
Sky,
formulating data.
Sky, let's put it this way. Sky, do you agree that even with the meltdowns that have happened with nuclear energy, even with the meltdowns, even with the many mistakes that have happened with the people, all the nuclear meltdowns that have happened, generational, as you say, issues, there's still less death for nuclear energy than a lot of other forms of energy, as we've
utilitarian. I've already addressed it. The utilitarian argument falls apart when you get it behind the veil of ignorance, saying that, okay, we get all the utility. It's so much safer, but you're putting all of the negative side of it downstream to next generations.
No, Sky, before we decide the ethical side and the downstream generation and all that, can you agree that yet again, for the amount of power that it generates, it is the safest form of energy.
Last time we talked
about it's amongst the safe. It's not the safest. We realized that, like, I think geothermal was the safest, and
geothermal was solar the safest. Was safer. Solar was,
like it's obviously safer than a lot of other forms of energy. It's amongst the safest. Yeah.
Sure.
So if it's amongst the safest form of energy, even with that, with the really bad accidents that have happened, like why would I be against having one of the safest forms of energy when, like, because you're saying regenerative, right? Like solar, wind, and all that, and I'm all for that. But first of all, I don't know how to formulate this because I've read about it.
It's not about regenerative. It's about decentralized, because for three reasons, Chip.
What do you mean by decentralized again? Because then we'll debate
because
again
if you decentralize the power grid and you have multiple generators,
but
like
grid
in the form
implies
of
centralization.
No, it doesn't, dude. A grid just reminds we're connected. Okay, so if you have multiple, consider it like
centralized to you just means everything comes from one source, right?
That's what centralized means, not just me.
Okay, but then nuclear energy is not centralized.
No, that's the definition.
Nuclear energy is not centralized then.
Of course it is.
No, it isn't, because nuclear energy doesn't come directly to the consumers. In fact, a lot of times it goes through batteries, as several people have said also in the chat. Nuclear energy just puts the energy back into the grid, just like solar does. So it's not centralized. That's it. But you see what I mean?
No, because you want to derail, you want to obfuscate the ethical dilemma by burying it.
I haven't even gotten to the ethical side of it. I just want to get to the whole point. Because I want to get to the factual side first before we decide on the ethics. I don't want to decide on the ethics until we don't agree on the facts.
The factual side is though limited on both solar, wind, geothermal, and nuclear, though seldom, and even coal. There's very few coal accidents these days. All of them are fairly safe. Even coal is fucking pretty safe, other than like the greenhouse gases and shit. Because when was the last time you heard about a miner accident or mining a coal mine accident? They're all very safe, but when something like when solar goes wrong, it's a very minor issue. When someone dies from solar, it's one guy on a roof who gets electrocuted.
Yeah, but when you say when solar goes wrong, you're saying as if the solar on my house goes wrong. But most of the solar energy comes from a solar power plant. We have solar power plants. We have those in the US. If one of those fails, it's just as bad as anywhere else. They still store and make a lot of energy.
Yeah, you're right. There are centralized solar. That would be like a centralized thing, right? That would be if there were solar power, because there are solar power plants like the ones.
So you just don't want energy. So you just don't want energy power plants, whatever they are. You just don't want energy power plants.
I want what energy power plants we do have to be renewable, but because I think that they will be more beneficial for future generations. But when it comes to,
I agree with you on that one.
But I think the ultimate goal should be to eliminate nuclear energy and to decentralize the power grid as much as possible.
I would much rather people eliminate coal, natural gas, all the other stuff, and then deal with with nuclear energy. I'm sorry, because all those are monumentally worse than nuclear energy. To pick on nuclear energy right now just doesn't seem fair. Because again, coal and natural gas.
Okay, but the reason why I'm picking on nuclear energy is because of that data point I just The reason why I'm picking on nuclear power is because of that data point I just mentioned, which is that around 20 in the next 15 years, in a very aggressive expansion of nuclear energy, that is, we are firmly in dromospheric land now. We are in the land of put plastic in everyone's mouth as quickly as possible because we want our money coming as quickly as possible. We want utility. We want to power these fucking data centers. We need nuclear power today. We don't have time to develop better solar panels. We don't have time to decentralize the grid. We need energy today. And who's going to pay for it? Next generation, the next generation, the next generation.
Sure, but Sky, wait, because first of all, I don't think that the problem is solely for nuclear. I think the problem would be the same if they chose solar. If they chose to build solar power plants, the problem would be the same. Because we have to, according to you, with speed, deploy a lot of power plants because we need a lot of energy to power up the data centers.
Yes.
But the problem, it's not like nuclear. I'll give you, it has some problems. But so does solar panels. Solar panels, they break. Imagine if we build so many, wouldn't we also need like some form of recycling of them? Do we have a recycling system for them? We barely. So it's like,
let me ask you this.
We always have an issue with something.
You're right. You're absolutely right. When you have new technology, when you invent the train, you invent the derailment. When you invent the ship, you invent the shipwreck.
Yeah, but the problem isn't nuclear. The problem is building power plants so fast.
That's the whole point of the episode, Chip.
Yeah, but you brought in nuclear as if nuclear is the problem.
Nuclear is the problem because they are the aggressive stance for this next generation nuclear power, and you keep on saying, I hope they build a ton of them. But the problem with that position, Chip, is that it's a wholly unethical one, Chip. It's not because nuclear power is the boogeyman. It's because the downstream effects of building something so quickly and this aggressive stance in order to fund the ecological disaster we already know is the case with these fucking data centers. If you actually did something aggressive, we should be aggressively doing exactly what you just described, finding ways to recycle fucking solar panels, finding ways to make solar panels on every fucking house that has sunshine, finding better, cleaner, more efficient batteries. That would be the aggression. I'd love to see that. Now imagine, Chip, if you will, in this hypothetical, a very real life one, if we took billions and billions of dollars, instead of putting them in the aggressive centralization of nuclear power plants for these fucking data centers, what if we took the same amount of money and did it for solar panels? Wouldn't you think that that would be a more ethical use of resources?
Let me correct you there, because if we didn't put the money in the already extremely well-researched nuclear energy, and it, by the way, has the most regulations, and the regulations are the strictest and the most well put out of all the forms of energy.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because it is, we acknowledge, as you just said, because nuclear energy isn't a new form of energy. It's a pretty well-developed form of energy, and there is a lot of established science behind it, knowing about all of this.
But these next gen ones are perfectly safe. Totally.
I'm saying they're safer than any other alternative, because you posed two different situations, and you discussed just a moment before about something completely else, because the options aren't between putting money in nuclear and putting money in solar, as we've just established, because solar would have the same issues where how do we handle the recyclables, how do we handle making that much plastic, how do we handle making all that, but rather the problem would be either putting money in nuclear or putting money in developing solutions for solar, right? So that would be the difference. But both of them don't solve the same issue. Nuclear energy solves the issue of power. How much power do you do? The other one solves the issue on how do we make this form of energy better. It's not the same thing. You can't say that these two options are equivalent.
You're right, because the motivation's different. I'll give you that. The motive to adopt this next gen nuclear power is not to give your grandma a reading light in fucking Pacoima. The reason why they're developing these next generation nuclear power plants and aggressively just taking away regulations, taking away any kind of roadblocks right now under Donald Trump, is because they want your data to be crunched more quickly in these fucking data centers that we already know are
I agree with you on that one. I agree with you that is, like, we both agree, like, okay, so we have to isolate the problems, right? Because one is the problem is they're building too many data centers. Completely agree. I don't think we disagree on that one. That means they need a lot of energy. And now the question is, do we question how we put? Because I think the immoral part is the fact that they building these many data centers. What follows,
right,
like, it's not like it's like saying
my whole point.
Yeah, but it's not like it's like saying, well, why don't you have a problem with the cement that they're making with building all these data centers? Why pick on the form of energy in particular, right? Because the amount of cement that they'll have to use, the amount of all these materials to be used for producing all these cables, the amount of material to be used to making all these PCs, all of this will obviously be extremely bad also. Like, I just feel like I understand when we're speaking about the form of energy, then, like, if we talk about the ethics of this, because the ethics is concerned with whether we should or should not build the data centers, not how we build them, right? If we're asking what the ethics of how we build them, it's a different question.
It's all part of the same scheme. It's not that nuclear might be safer than solar or whatever. It's more about, like, the magnitude of dread versus the magnitude of harm at that point. Like, the dread perception is very real, and that's harmful as well. The fact that people are afraid of nuclear power is enough to not just roll it out as quickly as they're claiming they're going to.
I don't think that's valid. I don't think that
you don't think that fear is a valid emotion?
I think fear is a valid emotion. I don't think people's emotions towards a technology is valid, whether that technology should be adopted or not.
So then we shouldn't be afraid of then we shouldn't be afraid of the surveillance that's being foisted upon us because of these data centers and by proxy these nuclear power plants. We shouldn't be. I'm afraid of the surveillance. I think that the magnitude of threat is just as important as the magnitude of harm.
But
ethically, they are.
Surveillance has no issue with the fear of nuclear. They're two separate issues.
You guys, welcome to the Ethical Underground. We're talking about the ethics of the dromospheric the ethics of the speed of technology. Chip, if I have the ethically speaking, the magnitude of dread and the magnitude of harm are simply, I wouldn't put them on equal footing, maybe, but to just discount the fact that people are terrified of nuclear.
I don't think we should discount it. I just don't think the solution is to not adopt the technology, right? If people are afraid of a technology, the solution is not adopting.
Rolling out 20 in the next 15 years. It's about putting a data center in everybody's backyard.
Sure, but we're yet again mixing things up, and I don't like it because we're using one thing.
The whole episode's about the speed of technology, not about not adopting technology.
Yeah, but we're using this one thing, the fact that we build data centers, to shit on nuclear, when in fact the problem isn't nuclear in this scenario especially, but rather that we build the data centers. So why aren't we shitting on cement for the same reason as I just explained?
If cement came out as quickly as these data centers, then maybe you'd have an argument. But cement,
they do. What do you mean? How do you think they build the data centers?
Yeah, but cement is not. You keep on going back. The reason why you keep on mixing it up is because you're failing to stay on top.
I'm trying not to mix it up. I'm trying to separate it. The issue is building the data centers.
You bring up guns and cement.
Sure, I built up guns for a different scenario, but this particular situation, I'm explaining to you. The issue is we're building data centers, not how we build them. Do you think if we build, so would you still have a problem with building?
Quickly we build them.
Sky, would you still have a problem with data centers if, instead of putting it into nuclear energy, they put it into building solar power plants?
Of course, yeah, of course. Because I
think that the problem isn't that form of energy.
The problem there would be it is the form of energy, because the form of energy is facilitating the speed at which they're building these fucking data centers, and they knew that they were going to be able to push this shit through. And they knew they were, despite people being afraid of it, despite the ecological downstream shit that's going to happen because of them, despite any kind of dangers from the deregulation of nuclear power plants, they did it anyway. Did you think, hold on, let me ask very quickly, how many data centers are going to be built in the United States in the next 15 years? 1,500 new data centers, and building they're already in stages of development. There will be 3,000 plus by with current operations across the country.
There's too many data centers.
So my question is not okay. So do you think? So I've known you for about 5 years or something, and now, or 4 years or something, 5 years now. I remember you and I talking about ChatGPT and stuff when ChatGPT was kind of new. It was pretty. It was brand new.
And we were enjoying it. We were
enjoying it. So when you and I were talking about ChatGPT and the dangers of AI, we talked about the dangers of AI on this channel. Now, did you think that meant that we were going to have over 3,000 data centers in the United States?
I did not think that. No.
Okay, so. We were kind of blindsided, I would say, because they were rolling out the technology so fucking quickly that rather than ever ask, should we be doing this? Instead, it was like, we're already doing it. There's 3,000. They're already here.
I completely agree. It's bad. It's very bad that we do that.
Is it because AI is inherently dangerous, or is it because we went so quickly that we never even saw what the train wreck was going to be? Because we knew, again, the axiom is when you build a train, you build a train wreck.
I personally think it's bad because we already know that, first of all, we already know that these data centers are not a good thing for a lot of people living around them. They're not good for, depending on where they're built. And yes, somebody in the chat keeps saying that they have this new technology of this new way of cooling data centers. Yeah, okay, they're slightly better or more improved. That doesn't mean that they still don't suck up so much energy and land for something that
sending
we
all the
really
energy,
use.
making a bunch of fucking noise, poisoning the rivers.
Exactly.
And even if they don't poison it, they'll heat the rivers. Heating the rivers kills all the fish, creates algae.
The point of it is like we already know it has detrimental effects. We already know it's consuming a lot, and like with every technology, sure, we need to adopt it. But as I explained to Sky earlier on, which I find is the big AI issue, AI right now is what it is. It can work on your personal computer. It will just be very, very slow because it will just be able to parse a couple of tokens per second. And the reason why we build these data centers is so that it can parse millions and billions of tokens, because there's a lot of users who want to use that. But you see, these companies, instead of giving you a way to download the model and you running it locally, and then we slowly improve on the computers, and then it's AI. It's kind of the same, but you slowly get better.
That would be the ethical way to do it.
That would be the ethical way to do it. But instead of that, they just pump in so much energy into something that in the future will not need that much energy.
And I would correct one thing.
That's my problem.
One tiny correction, because you said it's because there's lots of users, and I don't think that's accurate. I think it's because there's a lot of data. There's too much fucking data for us to ever put on our phone. We can't even parse that much data on our phone. We can have a model.
Yeah, we can have these models on our phone. Like I think it's like 50 gigabytes a model. It's the processing power that takes a lot.
Right, but the amount of data that they're feeding these things, like data points on millions of license plates being taken by flock cameras,
we still have enough on our phone, by the way. Like a terabyte of data you can have a phone with a terabyte of data. And it's not a terabyte. I don't think any model has more than a terabyte. Yeah, the problem is the fact that when you use it once on your computer, it's very slow. You have 30 tokens per second, let's say, which means kind of like 20, 30 characters. And the next problem is, okay, well, if I'm going to use two models, if you and I are going to use the same model on my computer, then the speed is going to be halved. So if we both want the same speed, I need to have a double as powerful computer. So the data centers just have a lot of these. That's why NVIDIA stock has also gone up, because they use a lot of the high processing. They're data centers that process with a high speed. But my problem with this guy is, like, I believe in technology and adoption. Sometimes I even don't mind the fast adoption that much, as you see now. I do think there's some unethical issues to it, but sometimes I think even the unethical issues,
it's always unethical to move that quickly. I see someone saying the data is under level, just to sell you a banana faster and now more expensive. It's funny because in the 1800s, bananas became a very popular street food in America, and that's why today they were so popular that is why in popular culture even today you have the classic trope of someone slipping on a banana peel, because it was so popular in Brooklyn, for example, that people were selling bananas in the street and everyone was just throwing the banana peels on the ground. There were banana peels everywhere. It was so popular. The fast adoption created, it might sound silly, but the fast adoption created an issue downstream. The invention of the train is the invention of the train wreck. If you're not going to take the time to know what the fuck are we going to do with all these banana peels if everybody's eating bananas.
But it's a little bit worse in this situation. And I'm trying to explain why it's way worse, because, as I said, first of all, we know the dangers of all these of this much usage. We knew that the American people are going to suffer for it because there's just so much power needed. I mean, even we haven't even built these data centers, and right now we know the dangers of the data centers, right?
So we got to build. So we got to build. They have. And so what are we going to do? We're going to build nuclear power plants as quickly as possible. The problem is
nuclear. Let's not move.
It's not that they're nuclear. It's that we're going to build 20 of them as quickly as possible. How could that be in your mind a good thing?
I can explain to you, but let me finish with this. So the problem is that we already know the impact that it has on people, but the other problem is that also these data centers are temporary. That's the bigger fuck up, in my opinion. That's the biggest fuck up, because at some point your computer is going to be fast enough to run these models, and these data centers will no longer have that much usage. So what the fuck are we building these fucking things for? So that's some corporations make money for it now.
So we can make money for it now and pay for it later. That's why.
You could say that they could be reused, but the problem with the data centers is that they're made in a specific way that they just have a lot of processing power. And sure, a lot of processing power can never actually be bad, but you don't need so fucking many, right? Like that's the thing. It's just so many fucking processing power is too much.
You need a lot to make the money today because they don't care because our subsequent generations have to pay for it.
But I'm saying that.
And they're going to add on the nuclear power plants too. We're not going to get anything good about this.
But this particular issue is even worse than plastics. That's what I'm trying to explain, because we know the dangers, we know the temporary situations, we know all of it, yet we still go on with it. That's my problem with the data centers. It's way worse than it was. It's way worse. Like if in the past we just adopted technology for the sake of profit, we were kind of negligent with it. It's way worse now.
You know what I think is fucking hilarious? When you said the thing about crunching the data on your laptop or your phone, you're making an argument for decentralization. So you see that decentralization is the ethical way to do it.
Good necessarily.
Of course, it's better if everyone's running language LLMs on their phones rather than running it in these data centers. Of course, that's better. Yes, it's slower. Yes, it'll take longer. That's better. That we'll get the technology as it develops, rather than.
I do think that AI would still eventually make some data centers exist, and I don't necessarily oppose the existence of those. I just oppose the existence of these data centers, because these data centers are particularly bad because they're, instead of trying to optimize the models, trying to wait until the technology goes there, we're speeding up for no reason. And at some point,
we're speeding up to make money, and it's unethical.
Yes, but at some point, we may build data centers without speeding up, just because they could actually improve something, right?
Okay,
right now, they don't actually improve; they just speed up.
The data centers are but the data centers and building these. It's a centralized unit where we all have to put everything into these centralized units rather than have it decentralized on our phones. The nuclear power plant's the same thing. We're building these centralized units so that we could do it faster, build more electricity, do as much as possible so that we could feed these data centers, so that we can all draw from it. It's an antiquated model that we've already seen doesn't work. The magnitude of failure is tremendous, and yet we have the alternative right here. It's just slower. It's just going to be slower.
Yeah, we just don't. And I find it bad for a lot of reasons other than just that, right? I find
with lower, I guess my point is, with lower velocity comes a lower magnitude of failure. You see, and that's why I think that the idea of this next gen nuclear, we need more electricity. We need so much more of it. We need so much, and it's like, well, no one asks, well, why? What's that going to cost us? What's that going to cost future generations? No. And all I'm saying is that because you're going so fast, you're behaving unethically.
It's just that it's to me, like, I feel like you're right about all of this. I just think that this problem is amplified way more than in the past. Because right now, it's not just that, like, say for instance, the internet, right? Say for instance, the internet was developed today and they amplified it so that everyone has internet. They moved it fast. Yeah, but the internet would be slow. So then they would have to move to this new technology, right? We would just, because that's kind of how we started with the internet. So if we just move on into this, like, we still get to a place where you're kind of using it. But the problem, like, even in the days when the internet was slow, there were still places and institutions that were testing and doing things where they had their own data centers, where they had fast internet. But now here, this one, they decided, you know what? We're going to make a quick buck, because that's the biggest problem. It's not even future. It's not even for the future. It's not even technology. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
It's for a quarter.
Exactly. It's not even technology, because we're going to make a quick buck. We're going to build these data centers. We're going to give these people something. But in 5 or 10 years, all this is going to be on their phones. So these data centers will mean nothing anymore. Maybe we'll be able to use them for something. We'll see when the time gets there.
It'll be like decarbonization. And again, because it's centralized, who has the power over those data centers? Because the nuclear power plants are centralized, who has the power over them? The next gen nuclear power plants will be going for the fucking data centers. The power is isolated. It's unethical to build these central power structures anymore. We need decentralized grids for data, for internet, for power. All these things need to be decentralized so that we stop putting it into the hands of the hierarchy. And it's fucked.
I don't think that's what we need. I don't think when it comes to power, I don't think decentralization is the solution. I think part of the solution is, as we established, right, like some solar panels on everyone, but centralization is an integral part of a
When you
good
have a centralized system,
power
it
system.
fail. If you have a centralized system, it fails as a system. If you have a
Yeah,
decentralized
but
system, it only fails
failing as a
locally
system
and
is
it
much better.
recovers locally.
I honestly think failing as a system is much better, because
You're
failing as a
crazy,
system
dude.
means
You're
fixing
insane.
as a system. Failing as a system means fixing as a system. It means, for instance, Kai, for instance, how many times has what was it, the Ford car that was delivered, that, let's say, a car, their brakes are not working because it was made in a particular way, right?
Yeah.
You give it to every person, then every person has this issue. How do you fix that? You have to ask every person to come back. Whereas if there was just this centralized issue where we could just push the fix, then everyone's car would just be fixed instantly, right? Like, the issue is with, like, this, the centralization. I understand it can have some detriments, but it also has a lot of benefits. I think some, like, I don't want to live, like, I don't think the solution for everything is decentralization. I think the solution for some is decentralization, for some it's partial decentralization, and partial centralization. I
I love
think
the
it's a
example of
little
a
bit more
car.
complex.
A
Yeah.
car, again, dromosphere. What did they do? They had centralized factories that made mass amounts of cars, forced it on all of us, they stole our land in our cities so that 50% of our
Doesn't
cities
matter
are
how it's
reserved
made.
for cars. Yes, it does. Because the way it was made before, you'd go to an engineer in your city and they would build you a horseless buggy. That's how they did it. They would people knew how to build cars and they were building it slowly. But in order to get it to all of us as quickly as possible, they centralized it and destroyed our economy. It
I
destroyed
don't
our
like this word
ecology.
anymore. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I just don't like this word anymore.
What?
Decentralization work. I don't like. I just don't like the word centralization. I think certain issues, as I've explained before, I think certain issues have a common problem. I think certain issues require a common solution, and I think generating energy is something that shouldn't be tackled by every single person. I think if we can give somebody to be like, put this thing on your house, and that will give us a little bit of energy, but we'll handle the rest. I'm fine with that. But having the whole system of transferring energy, storing energy, and all these other things, fail back, all this mechanism in every single individual house, I don't think that's a good idea.
You don't have to have everything. Fucking dude. Do you know what decentralized power grids look like? Everybody has a couple solar panels. There's a couple wind places where wind blows, and you're sorted. You don't have to have a
But that doesn't
power
work that way. You
putting.
need a
Of
lot
course,
more.
if everyone does it, everyone's got it, and we're
It's not
getting to
like
that
that.
place.
But you're thinking of a situation when everyone's living in the suburbs. Think of like a residential building that has 100 apartments, and you can only put
Mhm.
2 solar panels. The power requirements are 100 times more, and the panel usage is only two. And we need to get into more spaces where we don't spread out but rather spread in. We need to have more of that. So then we do need a form of energy that generates for all of it. Like by the way, I play City Skylines a lot, and I deal with issues. It's kind of funny to sound, but I deal with issues of power and energy a lot in this fucking game, and it's like I always notice that it's not as easy as we think it is, and this is a fucking game. I can't even imagine the complexity that it is in real life.
Easy isn't what I'm talking about. Speed is what I'm talking about. Decentralization is always going to be more ethical because it takes the power away from the people in charge and puts it in the power of the people. It means that we have control over our own destiny as far as
But
electricity is
that's
concerned,
isn't that a
and
little
everything
bit
else.
like isn't that a little bit anxiety, like we're giving into anxiety? Because
No, I mean,
uh,
I guess, okay. You could even say something like if there were a war situation or a terrorist bombing, the first thing they would do is go after our centralized power grid, and they would bomb the power station, and now we all are
but
sitting in the
it's
dark.
not
But if you
centralization of
had
power. Do you think means one power station? It just means multiple, but they're all interconnected with each other, and they distribute power differently.
I mean the power, except for Texas, I mean we have a national power grid
Sure, yeah,
that has
yeah.
nodes, right? But that's still we
Yeah.
have. I mean, I don't know why you want to keep going back into the how the technology works. It doesn't fucking matter, Chip, because if you bomb a fucking solar, if you bomb a power station, whether it's coal or what,
Yeah,
or
but why are we
nuclear.
planning? Why do we like? Okay, I get you that, but when my ex and I redecorated our house,
Yeah.
we were talking about what the fuck do we do with the guest room, and I told her, because we really wanted to make something else out of it, and I explained to her, we have guests 5 days per year, maybe 14, maybe hell a month per year. I think it's worth taking the other 11 months, the other time, and doing what we want, and we'll deal with the guests based on that. So I would rather, instead of building a society that's based in the worst case scenario, I would rather try to have some form of middle ground where we build a society that I understand there's risk, but because there's risks on all sides. So why would we just deal with one way and saying, well, this is the lesser risk? I don't know. Is it?
Because
Is it the lesser risk?
centralization is not just the one risk of attack. It's who gets to control the power plant. And if you only have one person, whoever gets to control the power plant, it's Elon Musk. He gets to control the power plant.
Yeah, but that's a problem. That's a problem that we have. Yeah, that's the thing about centralization is that I'm very split. I think as I said, like some things I do think that they need to be centralized. Like I again, like for example, health regulations 100% should be centralized. Do you disagree that health regulations shouldn't be centralized?
I don't think that. I think when you're talking about regulations, that's an entirely different thing than the actual like a product. Like you're talking about regulation, like we need to have a body of government that regulates corporations or something in the status quo. That's not what that's not even sort of what we're talking about. Like I thought you were going to say something like water authority, like to have a water authority because you need to bring water to a town, like water from like Los Angeles doesn't have its own. Los Angeles has a river, but it doesn't have enough water in that river to feed Los Angeles, so it breaks water from someplace else. And there's there's the Department of Water and Power, and what they've done, they make that an elected position. The person. So when you have centralization, like you're talking about, Chip, you're only able to do it without you're only able to do it ethically, I think, if that person in charge is an elected official. So with water authority, it is a centralized power, but we have a voter power over the people running it. Usually, not everywhere in America do they do it that way. But
how is
usually
that different?
You get to vote over that. You get to vote over the people who are in charge of the water.
How is that any different than the power?
With electricity, they're all almost exclusively private companies.
Oh, okay. But you agree that electricity should be state-owned then, or at least at least state regulated?
I think electricity, if we're going to power the world, should be, well, you say state owned. I don't think state regulated. Sure, I think state regulated. Sure. I mean, I don't want to have fucking.
I believe electricity, internet, water, even food should not be of corporations or of profit.
It should be owned by all of us. Sure, but
should be owned by all of us. But that should be still, some of them should be centralized.
Okay, so if the next gen nuclear power company, would we even build them at all if it was owned by us?
I'm for it. Yeah.
I don't think humanity would even choose. Humanity would not choose to build these things. Corporations are choosing to build them for the quick buck. Just like you were saying, they want the quick buck. They want to erect 20 new nuclear facilities in order to power data centers so they can get quarterly earning reports that earn them higher returns on their investments. That's it.
So let me put it this way, Sky. If I lived in Iceland,
we would never fucking do it that way.
If I lived in Iceland, I wouldn't want nuclear energy because there's no point to it. There's just so much geothermal there that you absolutely don't need nuclear energy there, right? If I lived in the desert, maybe solar panels could solve the issue in a lot of situations, and I wouldn't need also nuclear energy. But there are situations when nuclear energy makes sense because it's
when we're building thousands of data centers. That's not just the situation.
It's not just when we're building thousands of data centers, but also when we need energy that is as clean as possible, a lot of it, and
why do we need so much?
Because we use a lot of energy.
Why are we using so much?
I don't mean the data center situation.
It's the only situation. It's the same situation.
No, Sky. No, it's not, because, for example, in Romania, we barely have any data centers. I'll tell you that. but
Are they
we
building
still
20 new? Are they building 20 new next gen nuclear power stations there?
they're not. But like Sky, the grid itself. But in Romania, they do coal. In Romania, for example, in the places where they do coal, I would much rather they close the coal power plant or a lot. They do a lot of natural gas. I would much rather they replace the natural gas in the coal power plant with nuclear. 100%. All of them. All of these, replace them with nuclear. And then we do transition towards 100% renewable. The thing about this transition towards renewables isn't a one-day step. We know that it takes a long time. And meanwhile, why on earth wouldn't we use technology that we know is safer than everything else that we instead of what we use and put it there?
Same thing. Because the safer, cleaner alternative takes longer, we are going to do something that we know has the chance of a catastrophic failure.
But we need energy.
We need now too, apparently.
No, Sky, people in Romania need energy. What am I to tell you? It's not just corporations and firms, like barely any. It's mostly just people. People use a lot of energy. What are you going to say? Like, are you now going to say, oh, well, only you get energy?
No, I mean,
I would say you limit the amount of energy. Like, how do we do it, right? Like, people just use energy.
I would say, first of all, with a small example like Romania, natural gas and coal, the reason why no one gives a shit is because there's not that much of it to worry about. The reason why we care about China using coal and natural gas is because there's so much of it.
Nope. Because you see, the problem is in every, like, sure, a country that has a lot of units of problems, the problem is bigger because there's a lot of units of problems. Yes. But the unit of problem is a problem it's the same problem in every unit. So what I'm saying, if there's 3 units in Romania, it's the same problem. So we should treat the units in the same way.
In those little areas where
go on.
In those little areas where they've got, like, you know, how many people? Let me just. What's the population of Romania?
90 million.
Yeah, it's 90 million. 90 million people. If you could have a bunch of wind. I'm guessing works great in Romania, but I don't need to solve all of their power problems. I would say, hey, maybe however they're powering it right now is fine, and we don't need to worry about Romania right now.
Coal is not fine.
I am worried about it. Coal has been fine for generations, man. I don't know why all of us.
Not. It's way worse than nuclear.
The reason why coal is a problem right now is the scale at which we adopted it. And now it's a problem because we've poisoned our fucking atmosphere because we built so many coal plants.
Yes, Sky, Sky, coal is bad per kilowatt hour. I'm not talking about scale. I'm talking about per kilowatt hour. Yeah. Coal is worse. So per kilowatt hour, why would doesn't even matter. No corporations, just people. If people need a certain amount of kilowatt hour and renewables cannot deliver that right now, then shouldn't we use the next best form of energy per kilowatt hour, which would be nuclear instead of coal or the natural gas?
Per kilowatt hour for Romania is not
for whatever country, because it's in Germany is the same issue. Germany has the same issue. You're saying I'm saying Romania because it's an easy situation.
Germany has the same Germany issue. And France are having issues because they decommissioned all of their nuclear power plants before they had dried out, and what they did instead, they never switched to renewables. They just kept closing, and what they do, they switched over to coal, they switched over to natural gas. Why? For quarterly earning reports, because they're private companies. They need to make, so they passed legislation saying we're going to stop all these nuclear power plants, and then they just hoped and prayed that these corporations would invest in renewables, and they didn't.
Sky, before we go into the politics of it, okay? Before we go into the politics of it, can we agree on the logic that whatever the size of the country, whatever the size of the demand, first of all, we're not even discussing whether we should generate new demand, which we agree it's unethical, especially in the particular case of all of these data centers that they're building. But whatever the requirement of energy there is for the people to be there, per kilowatt hour, shouldn't we deploy the safest form of energy per kilowatt hour?
I do not subscribe to just squinting my eyes. If I squint my eyes, doesn't it look like a better drawing? It's not per kilowatt hour is one way of looking at it. And the reason why we look at power structures like that, power sources like that, is because when we're talking about giant scales, I don't think that same lens works for something like Romania, a place of 90 million people. I don't think that lens
19.
works anymore. 19?
19, yeah.
19 million people, dude. I don't think that
Sky. I'm not talking about
more
like we
people live
scale
in
it. Sky,
Florida.
please. I don't care about scaling it
Because
up, man.
Chip,
Before
no,
we
it does-
scale
it
it up,
does- it does
before we
matter the
scale
scale.
it up, can
The
you
whole
just
reason we
decide?
use the whole reason we use the lens
We cannot.
of per kilowatt hour is because we're trying to look at the 1,000 feet up in the macro lens, but then you're trying to take that macro lens and you're trying to go like, but Romania, 19 million people. The same lens doesn't work when you're getting on a granular
I'm trying
level.
I give it as an example. I'm trying to give it per kilowatt hour per person. I'm trying to give it the most rational thing per capita per kilowatt hour. Deaths per kilowatt hour. Simple. How many people are affected per kilowatt hour? We know the energy requirements of the people. We take away the whole corporations of it, the politics of it. Per kilowatt hour.
The per kilowatt hour metric is how many deaths per kilowatt hour, right?
Yes.
Now that matters because as we produce electricity, we're looking at how much it costs today. But again, behind the veil of ignorance, we aren't even taking into account what's happening
behind the veil of
into subsequent generations.
Behind the veil of ignorance, I will tell you this. Behind the veil of ignorance, I will take per kilowatt hour the best, safest form of energy that is possible. That's it. I'm not even being biased. I'm just saying per kilowatt hour at this point in my life, at this point stage of wherever I will exist, whatever century I will exist, I would rather have the safest form of energy, statistically speaking. That's it.
One statistic says that's safe. You have no data on what it's gonna look like when we adopt 20 new next generation nuclear facilities in the United States of America. You have no data on that.
Why would that be worse?
Why would it be worse? Because we already have something that we know works, and you're saying that we need to ramp up, create more electricity.
I'm not saying ramp up. No. See. No. Straw manning.
Yes, you are. No, that's what you're saying.
I explained very simply. I said take out the corporations, take out the new demand. I said simply, you have a requirement of kilowatt hour to exist. Okay, as energy.
If you have
a requirement of kilowatt hour energy to exist. Based on your requirement of kilowatt hour to exist, Sky, would you not rather have the safest form of energy for the kilowatt hour?
That's a false claim. That is an assumption. You do not know that next
asking you, would you rather have the safest form of energy per kilowatt hour, or would you rather have something that you think is good? Which one would you have, Sky? It's a simple question.
I would think it's good if it's tried and tested. If it's tried and tested and safe, like a coal plant versus a next generation nuclear plant. I'll stick with the coal plants until we do our due process and research on the next gen.
So you would rather, because you see, this is what I didn't even bring nuclear into it. I didn't even do any of it. I just asked you
about it. I know exactly where you're going.
I didn't even bring that. I asked you fairly simple. In your whole life, you will need 1,000 kilowatts hour, right? Obviously you need a lot more. But let's imagine that in your whole existence, you will need 1,000 kilowatt hour.
Okay.
In that 1,000 of kilowatt hour, would you rather use whatever form of energy you think is good, or the form of energy that statistically will be the best?
It depends on what statistics. I guess, sure.
Whether you trust the statistics or not is a different case also altogether. Would you rather use the safest form, statistically speaking, or the one that you want?
Safe for whom?
For everyone involved, not just one time, generations in the future, for everyone.
Then
generating that 1 kilowatt hour.
Yes.
Okay. So now, the problem is now you're saying, because see, this one we agree. That's why I'm getting worked up, because
so
it's
then what do we need?
Okay,
so let's say
the only thing we don't agree is
use your logic.
The only thing we don't
your utilitarian logic that I'm going to choose the one with the greatest utility and the least amount of suffering, right?
Yeah.
The least amount of harm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
So, and we're talking for generations too. You said for all generations. So, what would be the best form of electricity then? I guess.
What would be the best form of electricity? I trust the statistics that the science brings up, and I look at that. So if it says solar, I use solar.
And if it's solar, that's the answer. We already know.
Wait, let me fix. No, Sky. Okay, I need 1,000 kilowatts of energy. If solar can only generate 500, then what do I do with the next? Wait, Sky, it's only logical.
Moving.
It's not goalpost moving. What the
that
fuck
just means you need more solar. You need more solar then.
Okay, but if I can, like, Sky, if I live this amount of time, and in the time that I live, it cannot build 1,000 enough with solar to suffice the 1,000 kilowatt hour requirement that I have.
So you'll betray your own ethics that you just now described in order to go faster.
I'm not betraying. I just explained to you. Jesus Christ, Sky. Okay, let me explain to you.
You'll throw all of that, what you just said, out the window. The safest,
you're pissing me off, man. You're pissing me off. Let me explain.
Your logic was that we're going to pick the safest one for the most generations. We got all the statistics in, and then when you want to go fast, and you're willing to throw all of that away and be like, nope, you know what? Fucking nuclear, baby.
No. That's not true. So first of all, that's not what I said. Thank you for strawmanning my argument, but please listen to what I'm saying.
Not a straw man at all. I'm using your logic.
100% a straw man. So
100% not a straw
man. So let me explain exactly what I'm explaining.
Straw man in the chat.
We just said, Sky, doesn't matter even if the chat says it's a straw man or not, because the argument is a straw man. So let me explain it fairly simple. You have 1,000 kilowatt hour requirement. We established that. And we said for the 1,000 kilowatt hour energy, we'll use the safest form of energy, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Sure. Okay. If the safest form of energy cannot suffice the amount of energy that you need, the 1,000 kilowatt hour that you need, what will you use next?
You either use less electricity then, or you stay with the most ethical one.
That's not an option.
Of course it is.
No, Sky. It's simple. The hypothetical is simple. If that cannot suffice, and
I have to do something unethical.
No, you have to go to the next safest form of energy.
No, that means that
that's how you do it. The next safest form of energy.
If that means foisting upon a subsequent generation an ecological disaster, I don't think that that's an ethical thing to do. You're saying that you're willing to negotiate on your ethics in order to keep up with the rate of technology.
Why is it that on my side? Why is it that on my side I try to explain to you something logical, and on your side you keep putting words in my mouth about ethics and other stuff? I never mentioned ethics. I was fairly clear with all of this, wasn't I? I said use the safest form of energy with the amount of energy that you require. If the safest form of energy in that situation, obviously it is logical. If the safest form of energy cannot possibly scale to provide with all the energy that you need, then until you scale, you use the next safest form of energy, and so on.
No.
If that next safest form, no. So will you rather do? Okay, well, you need to provide with that the rest of the energy. Let's say half is the safest form.
I guess we'll have to slow down progress.
But you need the other half. Otherwise, some people die. So you would rather have some? Yes, because people die.
You just said we need more electricity all of a sudden. Now they're going to die?
I meant energy in a sense of survival, energy in the sense of that's how much you need in your whole life. And now you're moving the goalpost by saying something like, well, no, now we need less. No, we established that this is the energy requirement for a person to survive. And now you're saying, well, then maybe we should use less. Well, we can't use less. That's the energy requirement.
That's like saying well, you need to feed a lot of people, Chip.
I don't understand.
Should we resort to cannibalism because we got some new people or something? What I mean,
yes, Sky. Sky. I'll tell you very simple. Let's do this this example that you said, Sky. Yes, if we have to feed 1 million people, and that 1 million people, we have only food for 500,000 people, for half of them, 500,000 people will be fed, but the rest of the people will probably have to cannibalize each other, because I'd rather 500,000 people cannibalize each other than die. I'd rather have 250 million people survive rather than die.
That's not the scenario that you're painting. No. That's not the scenario you're painting.
Exactly what I'm saying.
No, not at all.
Exactly what I'm saying. Because half of the form of the energy, it's fairly simple. Half of the form of the energy will use the safest form of energy, and you have a certain amount of deaths per person. What do you do with the rest of the half of the energy that you need?
Asymmetric hypothetical.
How do you deal with the rest of the half?
If you want to take it to human beings, you do this. We have 500,000 people and we're feeding them safely. Every year we get another person. So we got to plant another, I don't know, call it an acre of land just to keep it 1-to-1. Each person requires an acre of land to grow food on. We've got 500,000 people. We got 500,000 acres of land that we're growing. We get 500,001. We get 500,001 acres of land.
But that's not a good analogy.
It is because every time our population goes up, we grow more food, right? Every time our population goes up. But actually, it usually works the opposite way, right? Usually when we grow more food, we get more babies. Grow more food, get more babies. But instead, what you're proposing is that we have electricity for 500,000 people. Now, all of a sudden, the same 500,000 people require double the electricity. So now we're going to do unethical things. Or whatever. No, it doesn't matter. Double, so I said triple, whatever. They need more all of a sudden.
It seems like you found a loophole in my argument. So
no, it's an asymmetric hypothetical.
No, it's a loophole because like you the way you did it is you said in your hypothetical is that now we're growing the population to that. I never even discussed the fact that we're growing population to that. Okay, but what I'm trying to explain is that you have 1 million people right now. 1 million people, okay? 1 million people, and you know their requirement for energy. You're in charge.
And they're all doing fine. They're all doing fine with the electricity they got, right?
Right now, electricity is however it is. Some of it is coal, some of it is nuclear, some of it is
doing fine with what they got.
Regenerable, whatever it is. And you know the exact requirements every single person, right? No corporations involved, no nothing. You want to do what's best for these people, okay?
Yes.
And you say, I want to use the safest form of energy as we've just established.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you build the safest form of energy. But however, you realize maybe you don't have enough land. Maybe the safest form of energy, which would be solar, cannot suffice for what you need. So then what do? If the safest form of energy can only reach 500,000 people, and then you say, okay, but the other half, I'll just use the energy that I have. But when you use the energy that you have, you realize that per kilowatt hour, you're killing more people than if you built a different form of energy. Would you still choose to say, no, I'll stuck with what I have? Or would you choose to say, I'll get to the next safest form of energy?
No, I'd say whatever's the safest form, we're going to try to make it as big as possible. Whatever we're able to produce, we produce. No one's going to die.
And if it's not possible,
they have to read by candlelight at night. No one's going to.
It's not about reading by candlelight, Sky. Some people need heat in the winter. It's not energy. They need food refrigeration. It's not like, again, it's not just like people can die because of lack of energy, not because they're boo-hoo, I don't want energy. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Right. But the scenario we're facing today is that these people, your million people, are waking up and realizing that the electricity that they've had for generations is not sufficient. Now they don't need double, they need triple, they need quadruple the electricity, and their population is going up. But it is because
I said no, Sky. I was fairly clear. 1 million people, 1,000 kilowatts per hour per person. Nothing more.
Oh, you're mute. You're mute. You lost it. I lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you.
Again, 1 million people. If you want, I'll write it down. 1 million people, 1,000 kilowatts hour per person. You use the safest form of energy as we've just established. But the safest form of energy, for whatever reason, maybe there's not enough material, maybe there's not enough, because every form of energy takes energy from something. Maybe the thing that it takes energy from just doesn't work. Like for example, if it's hydroelectric energy, it just doesn't provide enough. If it's subthermal, geothermal energy, it just doesn't provide enough, right? Whatever that form of energy provides half of what you need. For the next half, are you telling me you're not going to the next safest form of energy?
Not if it means creating a greater risk for the people that are already there. Because if you start going into this next
Sky,
generation,
the risk is embedded in it. The risk is embedded in the problem.
the risk is embedded in the problem. Absolutely. But we don't even think about things like the next gen nuclear fission. We don't even know what the fuck we're looking at yet. And we're rolling out 20 of them in the next 15 years. It's so that we can
think we should move on.
I mean, this is the end of the show. The question is not, is this good, Chip? The question is, can we go faster? The question is never, is this good enough? Can we make do with the electricity we have? No, it's, can we go faster? Can we foist this on the people as quickly as possible so that they don't even know what's happening until all of our towns have data centers, all of our towns have nuclear power plants that blow up from time to time. And you could say, well, they barely ever do. Okay, but when they do, the million people that you want, your hypothetical million people, they could fucking all die because you wanted to make something for the next quarter, because you're going, well, per kilowatt
what would you
hour,
rather have, Sky?
Per kilowatt hour.
What would you rather have? Every 100 years, 1 million people die in one zone, or every 100 years, 2 million people die in all sorts of other places, not centralized.
Just Robert Wingate, maybe you should rewind the fucking thing. And we already talked about cars. God damn it. I'm so you're arguing cars or horses. No, I'm not. Not at all. Not at all. I'm arguing that when you allow the bosses to control your power in a centralized government and a centralized grid, you give them all of your autonomy. We need to slow the bosses down and be more high friction, or else they will fucking kill us. They do not care about Chernobyl or the lessons of 3 Mile Island. They don't care about any of that. They care about how quickly they can build data centers, and they do not care about your rivers and streams. They don't care about how many fucking times you're like, well, would you rather in every 100 years they have a meltdown? Yeah, I don't give a shit. I don't think we should have any meltdowns. Why the fuck do we have meltdowns?
Sorry. We've been debating so many.
Well, we have to have meltdowns so we could have data centers.
No, I think we agree on the issue. I just think you have a bias towards nuclear, because
it's not a no.
Because actually, you're mixing the issue with nuclear with the issue of speed. And that's different, two different issues.
You know what's funny is because the reason why I know I can understand why you feel that way, because at first I thought I had a bias against nuclear power, and because last time we talked about it, you were like, we need to build more nuclear power everywhere, and I was like, I don't fucking think
instead of coal. Instead of coal, we should have.
We need to decommission all the coal plants and build next gen nukes. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea. And then I had to think about it, and I started watching YouTubes about it. And I even watched a thing with John Stossel about and how people are afraid. They don't even know about Chernobyl. People are stupid, and people are afraid of 3 Mile Island and the movie China Syndrome and all these scaremongerers. Oh man, people are stupid. We need to build 20 of these fucking things across America, and they are. They're building them as quickly as possible, and people are protesting them because the magnitude of dread is a real thing. People are afraid, but also they're going too quickly. And the question is to ask why. And the reason why I'm against central power grids, because they're unethical. I think central power grids are fucking unethical. And I think that speed at which they're building these things to all of the utility will be used by the billionaires and oligarchs.
Yeah,
all of the externalities are going to be you and your grandkids.
But you also agree that the speed, that's why I mean, like, you use your bias from nuclear to judge this, because you also agreed that speed would still be the same issue if we, instead of building nuclear, we built solar power plants. So the issue isn't nuclear. Why single out nuclear in the situation? The issue is the speed of it. You already agreed that it would be just as bad if they built different forms of energy just as fast.
Solar is inherently, well, aside from a few like centralized power stations with solar farms and stuff, essentially it's still an argument for a decentralized power grid. So that, I think, is inherently a bit more slower. It's going to be a little bit more high friction anyway, and also local failure will be locally remedied.
What if they build them just as fast?
Well, I mean, at this point, if we had an aggressive outlay of something as safe as solar versus an aggressive outlay of something that we're not quite sure about because we don't have the downstream effects of next gen solar. I'm sorry, fucking nuclear. I would say the
We
solar
also
is
don't
still a
have it
better
for
the
solar.
better
Yeah.
thing.
I
Of course,
mean,
we do. We've
solar
been
is
doing solar
obviously
for a long
better
time.
because solar, we know it's better because it's a safer form of energy, right? We
Yeah.
know that. But
Mhm.
it's not like the speed of it, which is the issue, would be an issue
So,
also with the solar.
no, you're absolutely right. So the speed is where we have a problem, right? The speed will make it almost
Yeah.
invisible what the train wreck will look like. When you build the train, you build the train wreck. Now the question to you is, let's say you have a choice. You could go as fast as possible with solar, and there will be a train wreck, or you can go as fast as possible with nuclear, and there will be a train wreck. The obvious answer is go as fast as possible with solar because the train wreck will be minuscule
Yeah, because
compared
it's
to the
the
train wreck
safest form of
with
energy.
nuclear.
Because
Huh?
it's safer. Because
Right.
it's safer.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. That's exactly my position, has been the position the whole time. The problem isn't nuclear. The problem is the problem is the fact that they do go so fast.
That's right.
It's
That was my
but singling out,
thesis to
but
start this episode.
vilifying nuclear for this is not, it's not fair, is it?
It's not vilifying nuclear except that when you do nuclear more quickly, that train wreck can look far more disastrous than the train wreck when it comes to solar.
Well, it will look far more disastrous than, it will look more disastrous. It will look, I don't know, as disastrous as the number of deaths per kilowatt hour is. That's how much more disastrous it will look.
We don't know the number of kilowatt hours if you're delaying the inevitable to the next generation. If you and I die before there's a massive meltdown that destroys half the population because of all these nuclear chain reactions and things that they say could theoretically happen, these theoretical things that might happen, and you're like, it's so unlikely. Well, over time, it becomes more likely, and you and I might die. And then you're like, oh, well, the kilowatt hour's far higher now because we just killed
the
500 million
kilowatt hour,
people.
sure, like you can say that. I understand this argument that you're saying is essentially the data is incomplete or something, and what if we don't know the exact data? Sure, but we can't use like I think this is called an argument for ignorance, isn't it? When we say, well, we don't have enough data, therefore it's this. But
we don't have enough
we
data.
have
Well,
enough.
That's true. We don't have data to
But
move
that
as
could be
quick
the case
to
also for
to
solar.
warrant the speed as we're going. Not
But that could
necessarily
be the case for solar. But it could. I can explain to you. Like solar could break. Like with the amount of energy we need, solar could break. We would have to throw the solar panels away. The way we dispose of them creates a lot more garbage. In turn, that kills a lot more people in the process.
They last far longer,
and,
though, too. I mean, and also with
but
battery tech and things like what
the thing
the solar
about this,
panel will unlikely change
batteries,
very much. The batteries will
explode also, right?
batteries
All of this,
will
like,
change.
yeah, I'm just like all of these. I'm not even debating the power, like the technology. We already agree that solar is safer right now based on that data. So we debate, and so picking and saying solar is safer based on this data, energy is safer than this other, sorry, nuclear is safer than this other form of energy based on this data. But I don't like nuclear, therefore I'll vilify nuclear. No. If we're going to be building energy,
the only argument for nuclear right now is that they have to build energy. If we're going to be building it, it's never should we be building it. It's all we're already building it. And we need to go as quickly as fucking possible. And you're never going to be able to ask the question, should we be? So they're building it as quickly. That's the problem, dude. It's not necessarily nuclear energy.
But that's exactly.
But your assumption keeps going back to like, well, if we're going to do it, we should build these. Well,
no. My assumption was
we should be asking, why are we building this shit?
The last thing we did disagree on, you said that, well, the biggest problem is that with nuclear, it's monumentally worse. But my claim is, well, if it's one, I don't know how many, but I think it was 0.1. But let's say it's one death per kilowatt hour.
If you put a gun to my head, if it's coal or nukes, obviously I'm going to go with nukes, right? I mean, like
no. My claim was, the last claim was that if solar kills 1 kilowatt hour, one person per kilowatt hour, I think it's 0.1. Let's say 0.1, and nuclear kills 0.5 kilowatt people per kilowatt hour. That means that the monumentally worse is just 5 times worse, because it could potentially kill 5 times more people.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, because the meltdowns are included in the statistics. The worst meltdowns. The technology is far better now, but whatever, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to vilify this one form of energy because so many people have. I just dislike that so much. I'm not like I'm pro nuclear over the other forms of energy, but if you give me better than nuclear, I'm not tied to nuclear. I'm just tied to the safest form of energy, to the data.
You're tied to centralized power grids, which inherently are unethical, and you're tied to the whole reason why we're doing it in the first place, which is building fucking data centers. And
we agree that's bad.
Because these billionaires are wanting to do it. So what I'm saying, we need to slow the bosses down and be more high friction. And if you want, I think the people protesting the power plants are doing God's work. And you're saying, no, they're stupid because they don't realize that it's safer. Fuck that. They should be tearing down power plants and not building data centers. It's very difficult to protest a data center because in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
but places.
I think they should be protesting the building of data centers, tearing down data centers, and thus power plants. I don't think they should be protesting the power plants, because you see what could happen is that, okay, you guys don't want nuclear power plants, we're going to go with coal. And that's just going to be worse for everyone statistically. So I would rather have them build nuclear instead of coal. Would I rather have them build solar instead of nuclear? Yes. Would I rather have them build geothermal instead of nuclear? Yes. Would I rather have hydrothermal? Yes. Sorry, hydro energy, not hydrothermal. 100%. Yeah. I don't think nuclear is the best. I just think nuclear is better than coal and natural gas.
If you protest nuclear power stations right now, you are protesting data centers. If you protest nuclear power stations, I don't have a problem with protesting data centers.
I don't have a problem with protesting data centers. I have a problem with protesting nuclear, because that just means that just gives free, like, you know how every single thing we do can have a backfire effect. I think protesting nuclear can have a backfire effect where people use coal, which would be monumentally worse, which is what happened in Germany. They closed a nuclear power plant to use a coal power plant, which was stupid. It's stupid. It just means more people die. So then why did we close the nuclear power plant? So statistically speaking, more people die.
The German thing is a little bit more complicated than that. That's not how it happened. They've closed an old power plant on nuclear, and they used the years left that they were legally allowed to use the power plant. They added it to the coal power plant so that they can use the power plant longer. It's just a whole thing. It was all about cap and trade with them. It was very, very complicated. Like, they were closing some nuclear power plants that were old and saying, okay, you said I could run this for 10 more years. I'm going to add it to this other nuclear power plant, and because I could get my money's worth.
I'm not saying that the politics of it, the money of it, the finances of it are not very complex. They are. I'm just saying statistically, the science of it, they did something bad, scientifically speaking, statistically speaking. They, instead of upgrading the nuclear power plant or maybe making it work, or whatever,
sure, but I mean, there was all sorts of other things. Like, a lot of those power plants were built on the few fault lines that they have.
They should have built another one.
Germany. They had power plants on fault lines. They had all sorts of other things, and people again are afraid of nuclear power, and the magnitude of dread is important for the health of our civilization.
Let's deal with also this fear of people. So if people are afraid of solar and wind energy, that we shouldn't adopt solar and wind energy.
Are they?
But if they were, should we still adopt solar and nuclear?
What's the fear? I suppose. I guess. What are they afraid of? Are they afraid of ghosts? Like, what are they afraid
of? They're afraid that solar and I
guess to use that logic, if a solar farm blew up and poisoned everybody, and a bunch of people died horrific deaths, and you had dogs walking around with a bunch of tumors on them and shit, like that one powering Vegas. Someone just said that Vegas is powered by coal. It's not even true. But anyway, so like, if a solar farm went down and it did something so horrific that people were generationally afraid of it, I'd say, yeah, maybe we need to cool our jets.
Maybe it's not even think about, as you said. Maybe they just know, they just start becoming afraid. They're just afraid of it because they're afraid they might die from it. Why? I don't know. They just
sure. I think it's certainly a consideration. Absolutely. If people were terrified of fucking solar for whatever reason, I guess you would have it would be slower. That would make sense. I certainly wouldn't cram it down their fucking throats.
do you apply the same thing with flying? Because flying is safer than cars. So are you saying that people shouldn't fly anymore because they're afraid of flying?
I think the consideration of the flight, people who are afraid of flying, is certainly real. You don't think that's a
No,
real
but
thing?
I'm afraid of flying. But I'm just like,
Okay.
I don't think fear, especially like people are afraid of vaccines. Should people not be vaccinated? No. Like I feel
I
like
don't
the
want to
fear
talk
of
about fucking
people.
vaccines.
No, I don't also
If
want to. I just want to make the case that the collective fear that people have, while it's an important metric and it's something that needs to be tackled, it shouldn't be something that we as a society say it matters more than the deaths of people, right? That cannot possibly be ethical when we say because Jimmy, I've heard the name. I don't know if
I just say
there's
it's a
anybody called
consideration.
Jimmy.
It's a
If
consideration.
Jimmy's
People are
afraid
afraid
of
of it, and you're
dying,
saying it doesn't matter. It
but
does matter.
no, I'm saying we shouldn't make a decision by saying Jimmy's afraid of dying, therefore we know Mark will. Then we'll choose the option where we know Mark will die, right? I don't think it should work that way. I think we should say Jimmy's afraid of dying, but we'll use this because this way Mark doesn't die. And if Jimmy's afraid of dying, we can educate Jimmy and try to explain to him that he shouldn't be afraid of it.
Except with nuclear power, there is evidence for why it is scary, and there's also evidence that it could happen again. The train wreck built into nuclear
I'm not going
energy
down that.
is far more drastic than the train wreck built into solar. And if we continue down the path of saying people's fear don't matter, the magnitude of fear doesn't matter, the magnitude of downstream effects don't matter, and the reason of why we need in quotes why we need the electricity doesn't matter, and you're just going to be like you're just going to discount all of it because of your bias for nuclear energy because you like that it's cool technology.
No. I'm using again. I will use the safest form of energy. It's not even about it being clean. I've literally said I'm putting people's safety first. Not even whether it's clean or not. Nothing like that. People's safety first. The safest form of energy should be always used in every situation. The safest form of available energy. That's it.
So solar for everything.
Solar for everything. And if we don't have solar, the next safest form of energy.
Wind.
And if we don't have wind, the next safe form of energy. And if we don't have that, if we don't have nuclear, Sky, then go to natural gas because it's safer than coal.
So,
and if we don't have, you see what I mean? Like I'm
just let me just because this guy's pissing me off in the chat. I'm sorry, Chip. This motherfucker. I lived in Las Vegas for 6 fucking years, and this asshole. Las Vegas's electricity comes from a mix of natural gas, 50%, solar, 30%, geothermal, 8%, coal, 6%, hydroelectric, 4%. People like this piss me off. I get so pissed about people. Is this that same motherfucker that said I was arguing for horses? I think it's the same dude. Like, it's so easy to Google. Why don't you fucking Google shit before you say some shit in my chat, you motherfucker? I hate people that do that type of shit. Just say some shit. 1%. They use coal. Coal is 8%. Coal is 6%. Sorry, coal. Geothermal is higher than coal. Geothermal.
Well, we can Google that. Wait, let's see.
Las Vegas has more geothermal than coal.
Vegas.
I have it. That's what I Googled. You want to see it? I'll put it on the screen. That's what I just did.
Oh. Okay.
I said, what's the energy breakdown? Here we go. What is the energy breakdown? What is the energy breakdown of Las Vegas? Here you go. 50% natural gas. Solar, 30%.
I got the same, exactly. Yeah. I got exactly the same.
Geothermal, 8%. Coal, 6%. Hydroelectric, 4%. Holy shit. It's literally positioned between Hoover Dam and the world's biggest solar farm that I know. Maybe it's not the world's biggest. It's a huge solar farm. Like, natural gas is 50%. I've been to the natural gas ones. I've been to the solar farm.
Yeah. So you see, for example, in this situation, I would say, you see, I love that it's structured this way: 50, 30, 8, 5. Right? It's scaled by the most usage to the least usage. I would want, what I think it's logical, I hope you agree with me, is that we have it, the most used is the safest, and the least used is the least safest. I want energy to be generated based on the safest, next, right? So the first one should be solar, 50%. The next one should be geothermal, 30%. Or as much as geothermal can, because I think geothermal could do more if they could, but they just don't. I don't know what the situation is. and then maybe nuclear, and then maybe natural gas, or sorry, I also see hydroelectric, and
Yeah,
so
I
on,
mean, I
right?
guess like
That's how I see it.
the thing about something like this, where we see, oh well, this is the status quo. I mean, I can look and agree with you. Like, we're gonna have to make some utilitarian decisions here, because I think solar's too small. Of course, I wish there were more geothermal. It's the best one. I'm actually really surprised that geothermal is as high as it is. Like, that's shocking to me.
It's pretty fucking good, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the cleanest
Geothermal
one,
is
right? It's the
the
best
safe.
one.
It's the cleanest one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And the hydroelectric is also very, very good. I
and
think
that's a
hydroelectrics though is bad for the animals. I think we should have
yeah,
also statistics based on the animals, but
right,
and
exactly. But
that could change a lot, right? Maybe that puts nuclear way lower, and then I'm
yeah.
like, fuck nuclear. I don't care.
I'm
Like, I'll look
surprised
at
that
the
wind is so
statistics.
low. I'm surprised wind is so low. I'm surprised hydroelectric is so low, because Hoover Dam is literally right there. I actually thought that Hoover Dam would be higher, but I knew that solar was going to be at least 30%. I thought that natural gas would be like 30% too. Anyway, the point of this is, this is the status quo. If I had my druthers, I would say, in an anarchistic society, we would tear all this shit down, and like, stop allowing everybody. If instead of having these corporations decide how much they need, quote unquote, to power all their shit, we would say, because all of these things were built by the taxpayer, and yet those companies draw from them as they see fit, and when they need more, we give them more. That's not a good situation, because we're just going to keep going down the same road where we go. We're just going to destroy ourselves. We can't keep doing it like this. We build the power plants and then we give them to the corporations. It's
I don't
crazy.
like that. I don't think power should be something that people make profit out of. I fucking hate that. I think that's stupid, and I think that drives all this
Right.
ugliness
And so
of
and
it.
so and so if we went by that lot, by your what you just said, Ship, then there would be no Vegas as we know it. Like, Vegas wouldn't look like it does. It'd be all LEDs and super fucking ecologically
It
minded,
should be,
like, yeah, of course it should be. Of course it should be. But
but it should
instead,
be. It should also be like we should like individuals are individuals, right? It's a little
yeah.
bit more difficult, but governments should enforce on corporations to use the least amount of energy that they possibly can.
Yeah.
So they should enforce that, hey, why are you still using these fucking lights? Use LEDs. I don't care. You wanted a corp company, you better use an LED. Why are you driving not an electric car? They should force companies to use electric cars. I like all of it. They just the
Yeah, I mean,
like the
there's all
cleanest,
sorts
safest
of
form
things. Like,
force them.
it also happens to be in the fucking desert, where swamp coolers are more efficient. But what do they use? They use these massive air conditioners, and for hotels that have 7,000 rooms. Like a 7,000 room hotel with this huge convention center, and all of the and don't get me started on all of the golf courses in Las Vegas. Like, it's just not an ethical use of energy resources, land, air. All of it's fucked. So, and I love Las Vegas, by the way. But I mean, we wouldn't do it like this. How many nuclear power? Who can know? How many have nuclear power? Who can know? I don't know what that means. But we're building 20 new nuclear power plants are slated to be built in the United States of America in the next 15 years.
Can I make another case, by the way, Sky, which is very interesting?
Sure. I love cases.
Politics is the reason why nuclear power plants suck.
Well, yeah, but that would be the same argument about the dromosphere, because they're thinking in 2-year, 4-year terms, and how they can.
I'm not saying speed will make any form of energy bad. It can make any form of energy unsafe and bad. I just the particular reason why we had all these meltdowns, especially Chernobyl, which was, I think, the worst, was because of fucking politics, because of dumb people trying to
Okay, so
speed
check
up.
this out. Check this out. Let me ask you this. This is just a real world hypothetical. There are 20 slated to be built in the next 15 years in the United States of America. Okay.
Yeah.
If protesters, for whatever their reason is, they protested and they were able to make enough noise and be as much of pain in the ass because of sabotage and just being a bunch of assholes protesters. If they were able to get it down to just 5, would that be good?
To just 5 nuclear power plants or just 5 data centers?
Well, the data centers would have to slow down too if the nuclear power plants aren't being built.
Yeah, that would be good, obviously. Less data centers, yeah.
Right. So fewer power plants equals fewer data centers. That's my problem with it.
Oh, that's what you're saying. I don't. If it works that way, I'm all for it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not what I'm saying. I mean, that's that they're building. The reason why they need to build all these new next gen things are because of that. Let me see this guy. This guy always has some stupid shit to say. I like. Let's what? Not you. You're great, Fanky Berry. Nuclear power factories for electricity being used to have their world, and our technology is pretty made it sources of electricity and AI and will be built. What the fuck? Just gibberish? I can't even remember what the fuck that means.
Just gibberish. I don't know.
Precision, none of the upteenth gardening and plant books I had any information on that plant. Oh, not power plant. Sorry. Great. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I was gonna say, Sky. No, the chat goes so fast. It's like I gotta catch it. Like I'm jumping into a.
Yeah, actually, and I built an app that you can highlight this for OBS. And I have the same issue now that I'm like, when I was doing a stream, I realized that I accidentally click on somebody else, because then your mouse remains that place, but then the thing under it jumps and shit, I clicked on the wrong thing.
Happens all the time. Yeah. Happens all the time. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Slow the bosses down. Be high friction. Illegitimate non-carborundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down.
I hope you got something from this, everyone. We kind of got heated here, and we debated in an intense manner. But this just goes to show that, you see, even with opposing views or with stuff, we still. I mean, I'm honest with Sky. He's honest with me, and we debate something, and we try to get to the crux of it, and we still end up agreeing on what we agree on and disagreeing on what we disagree on. But we look at the data, we trust the data, and we try to find common ground. And I think we should all do that. But look at the data again.
Or, try to have values and actually just live by your principles. I think that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, but I agree. It's just that they should have a basis in some form of empirics, right? Like that just.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess empirics inform you, right? I mean, I guess that's.
Yeah.
I would say that values guide you. Values and principles guide you. And empirics inform you. I guess that's the difference, right, between being data driven and being data informed.
Yeah, I just want people to be informed, and then you draw conclusions based on that. Obviously, like I think some situations are to be utilitarian and some aren't. I don't think we should be utilitarian in every situation, obviously.
I mean, utilitarian and statecraft and stuff is one of those things you just kind of have to figure out over time. Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. We're going to do a short members only right now. If you'd like to join us, if you're Sky City Rebels get extra content, extra streams, and extra love in the chat. And we're going to hang out just a short one today because I'm moving and I have to pack and shit, dude. I got so much stuff going on, Ship. But we're going to do that right now. The Ethical Underground is over, and the Afterglow starts right now. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think you're amazing. Fuck Donald Trump. He is a Nazi, and I'm tired of Nazis.
Factually, Sky went through all the tenets of fascism, and he's a fascist. So fuck Donald Trump because he's a fascist.
I don't like fascists. I just don't like them.
Yeah,
I just don't like them, Chip.
Yeah,
this
isn't an emotional thing. Fuck them.
Fuck them. All right, thank you everybody for watching. This is the. Join the resistance.
Are you gonna watch the game, Sky, later? Is that it?
The game? No, I didn't even know it was playing today.
It's the final World Cup.
I thought it was tomorrow.
Nah, it's today, I think.
No, I'm gonna organize comic books and pack. All right, bye, bye everybody. Sky City Rebels, right now, Afterglow. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join the resistance. Thank you so freaking much.